Chapter 2966 Moment God Han Sen's expression changed. He stared at Golden Growler, whose body still had its activeness. Golden Growler's life force was not gone yet. Compared to the last time he had seen him, his life force was weaker by a considerable amount. His body still had that pouncing forward position. His claws faced the God Temple's gate. He looked like he was just frozen where he was. What is going on? What happened to Golden Growler? Han Sen's face did not change. He could not figure out what was going on just yet. The demon lady seemed to understand Han Sen was focusing on Golden Growler. She looked at the God Temple and Golden Growler and said, "Mister, that is the God Temple of Moment God. Back then, when all those God spirits descended, Moment God was there. He was a God spirit that governed time. If I see things correctly, then Golden Growler must have been struck by his moment forever. That moment lasts forever. I am afraid his life will see it trapped at that moment. He will never escape that." Han Sen hurriedly asked, "A high-level God spirit? How are the levels of gods determined? How would you define Moment God's power compared to the creatures of the universe?" The demon lady replied, "From what we know, God spirits have 4 levels, which are destruction, disaster, annihilation, and reboot. If you are talking about his power, that is hard to judge. High-level God spirits are stronger than low-level God spirits. That is for sure, because all the God spirits took over the universe's creatures when descending. Their powers are affected by their bodies. The best they can be is true God class. They cannot go any higher. Even annihilation God spirits were easily killed by the Master. In the God Temple, it is hard to gauge the power of a God spirit. Back then, I, Old Vulture, and the others had top-class treasures and God personality armaments, but could barely fight a disaster-class God spirit. Moment God is an annihilation God spirit. In the God Temple, I was unable to fight him. When he descended, the Master was able to heavily injure him. He fled back to the God Temple after that." Han Sen frowned and said, "I have the Holy Kirin to fight him. Which do you think would be stronger?" The demon lady and Old Vulture were shocked. They quickly said, "Mister, you must not do this. The Holy Spirits were made by Sacred Leader to kill God spirits, but they were designed to be used by 4 spirits combined. You also need the Race Lanterns buff. That is how you kill top-class God spirits. Right now, the power of the Race Lanterns are being used to break the space barrier, and there is only one Holy Spirit. If you just use the Holy Kirin, I am afraid with that power, you will only be equal to a disaster God spirit. With the power you have, Mister, you cannot attempt to challenge an annihilation God spirit." Han Sen stared at Golden Growler in front of the God Temple, and did not speak. Golden Growler was just frozen and motionless. Han Sen felt that his life force was fading. He guessed that Golden Growler's life force would probably be depleted within a few years. The demon lady seemed to understand what Han Sen was thinking. She quickly said, "Mister, it will not be too difficult for you to defeat Moment God. From what I know, for a disaster God spirit, there is a no-world God. Its God personality armament has no world power. It will not be limited by time and space. Mister, you can kill no-world God first, get no-world God's God personality armament, and then use the God personality armament's power to fight Moment God. Your likelihood of success would be greatly increased." "Dad, little Gold seems to be in pain. Should we go and save him?" Bauer had been lying on Han Sen's shoulder. She was looking at Golden Growler in front of Moment God's temple. Han Sen stayed silent and did not speak. He saw space was disrupted by a roaring sound. A girl with a snake-like body and a green giant beast traveled through space. They were heading for Moment God's God Temple. Han Sen recognized the green-haired big beast. That green-haired big beast was the one who stole Golden Growler away from him in the first place a long time ago. Han Sen did not know the identity of the woman who looked like a snake. It seemed to be someone from the Ghana race. Old Vulture looked at the snake-like woman and asked with shock, "Huh? Does the Ghana still have a true God elite in their midst? Why have I not heard about such a person before?" The demon lady looked at the woman and quietly said, "In legends, the Ghana Alpha had a twin little sister. When she was young, she was taken by a big beast. I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that it is that person there. If things are really this way, I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that the big beast that took her is Beast King Growler from Empty Mountain. Back then, Empty Mountain Leader was a good friend of Sacred Leader, Old Vulture said. He disappeared after he went to the Geno Hall. I did not expect his bloodline to continue. It is a shame he got stuck in the God Palace. Red Ghost shook his head and said, that Ghana woman and the green-haired beast are the top-class creatures of the universe. But it is crazy that they want to go to Moment God's Hall and save Golden Growler. That is a bad move. While they were talking, the Ghana woman and the green-haired growler entered the proximity of the God Palace. They were going to attack Moment God's God Temple. Little Mountain Leader, we are coming to save you. The green-haired growler roared. His body was brimming with a green light, and he was spitting out a pillar of green light. It was headed for Golden Growler. The green pillar suddenly reached Golden Growler by a distance of about 3 feet away, but the green light pillar could not cross that 3-foot distance. If one was able to fast forward this by 100 times faster, one would have seen the green light pillar go forward. The speed of it trying to go through was so slow that it looked like it was not even moving. As Hansen watched, he was shocked. Golden Growler's body was covered by a lasting time area that was similar to Time Ghost. The time area's power was far stronger than Time Ghost area. With the green-haired beast's powerful power, in that time power, it looked like it had stopped moving. It had not really stopped moving. The green-haired beast's light pillar was fading while it was in that time power. It was extinguished now. There was not even a light left. The Ghana woman's hands clutched a crystal ball. The crystal ball had some red light, but the light was being absorbed by the time power outside of Golden Growler. It was not able to erase the time power inside. Boom, boom, boom. Moment God Temple's door opened. A female god spirit body, which looked very tall and slim, emerged. She was wearing black, tight armor. She looked cold. She did not look human at all. With every step she took, space was like the surface of a rippling lake. It was like there were many vortexes in space. When Hansen saw Moment God, he was shocked. Moment God's face and presence looked exactly like Moment Queen. No, it was more like Moment Queen looked like Moment God. Compared to this, Moment Queen was just like a weaker version of Moment God. The presence and atmosphere were different. What is going on here? Many different ideas coursed through Hansen's heart. There was a difference between them, the green-haired beast loudly shouted. If I was able to save Little Mountain Leader, even if you got us killed, I would not hesitate. It is not that easy. Hansen's face bore a wry smile. His last strike had exhausted all his power, and Moment God had broken it with one finger. Both of their powers were not on the same level. Hansen looked at Golden Growler. He was still sealed by the Time God power. The power that trapped Golden Growler was much stronger than the one that went onto the green-haired beast and Ghana woman. No, it is okay. I am fine. Arg. Hansen wanted to refuse it, but Little Silver's lightning landed on him. It made Hansen's brain feel numb as he screamed. Take off my robe first, Hansen said while holding in the pain. Bauer quickly held Hansen up. She took off his blue and black striped robe. When she saw his back underneath the robe, she screamed. The back of the robe had a big hole in it. The hole was shaped like the woman's hand. It was where Moment God had struck him. Han Sen saw the hole of a hand in the robe. It made him develop a wry smile. Fortunately, this robe blocked a little. Otherwise, even if I did not die, I would only have half my life left. Han Sen turned around and laid down on the bed. The spell armor on his back had the print of a hand as well. Fortunately, it did not pierce through him. Even so, Han Sen's backbone had almost been destroyed. It was very hard to cast power across his body. Annihilation class god spirits sure are scary. I couldn't even use a super god spirit body to challenge it. Han Sen wanted to get up, but little silver amplified the amount of lightning he was using. Han Sen's body felt very itchy and numb again. He screamed again. Arg! Little silver's thunder healing was not bad. It helped Han Sen's true god body, but the treatment process was as awful as ever. After Han Sen felt a bit better, he was going to let Little Silver go. Little Silver insisted on fixing him. He kept releasing lightning to electrify Han Senator. It made his legs go soft. It was a shame Little Silver was only primitive class. After he used all of his thunder power, he was still unable to patch up Han Sen's entire body. Okay, I am feeling much better now. Han Sen held his pain in and got out of bed. He looked outside the room and saw Moment God Temple in space. Moment God had returned to her God Temple somehow. One was no longer able to see her. Golden Growler was still trapped in the plaza in front of the God Temple. It looked like Moment God was not in a rush to kill it. Or, perhaps she was afraid of something and decided not to kill Golden Growler. Han Sen sighed. As long as Golden Growler was not killed, he had a chance. Han Sen thought, I wonder if that Annihilation Sky God crown with my xenogenic body can save Little Gold from Moment Temple. He did not think his chances were very high. Moment God's time rewind was too scary. Whenever time was reversed, Han Sen was unable to do anything to combat it. Even with powerful power, he could not cast it. Unless I can stay in Super God Spirit mode, I will not be affected by time rewind. Then I can save Little Gold. Han Sen looked at Moment God Temple and Golden Growler. His face kept changing. Chapter 2970 Light Well Han Sen emerged from Purgatory Heaven 30 minutes later. He returned control of Purgatory Heaven to 0. The Extreme King really is not simple. I cannot go to King's Kingdom yet, but it will not be hard to harvest the Extreme King's resources first. Han Sen rested in Space Garden for a few days. While he relaxed, he investigated the resources Extreme King possessed. Extreme King's Kingdom had the most booty to plunder. Aside from Extreme King's Kingdom, there were many other locations he could think about taking resources from too. Han Sen kept looking and picked a place that was more suitable for Little Angel. There was a xenogenic space called Light Well. In that xenogenic space, many wells had light energies in them. The energy holes had deified xenogenic plants inside them, which were called Light Well lotuses. The legends claimed that the Extreme King had been growing those Light Well lotuses. It was unknown how many years it had been, but there must have been a lot of Light Well lotuses. Because the Light Well lotuses did not initially belong to the Extreme King, and it was the Extreme King that destroyed another race to claim them. What happened with the Light Wells was something many people knew about. After the Extreme King took over, they blocked that place. They stationed many soldiers there to guard it. Supposedly, there was one extremely strong deified elite sitting there. So ordinary races did not dare do anything to the Light Well. Han Sen did not care about that too much. He was going to attack the Light Well. While Han Sen was resting, he saw the universe's true god creatures challenge the god spirits. Most of them failed. There were only 3 combatants that had proved successful in their bouts. One of them was Ghost Car. Out of the 3 of them, only one chose to replace the god flag and god spirit's position to become a new god spirit. They had only challenged a destruction class god spirit. Moment God was an annihilation class god spirit, so nobody dared to challenge her. Although annihilation class god spirits were stronger, even disaster class god spirits were not something other people or creatures wanted to challenge. The Extreme King's army that guarded the Light Well was always the same. They were in a space fortress scanning the space around to prevent an intrusion or possible invasion. After all those years, No Xenogeniac had dared attempt an invasion. In their hearts, they were no longer on constant alert. A worker who was in charge of observation said, "Ha, it looks like something has reached the entrance of the light well." "Are you joking? Can something reach the light well's entrance? Do you think our Extreme King Space Fortress satellite and battleships are broken?" Another worker laughed and looked disdained. They were the last defense of the light well. The defensive line in front had no movement. They did not think anything had reached where the worker claimed. "There really is something. Huh. It is wearing black armor. Hang on. That is Dollar." After the worker enlarged the camera's video feed, he saw a person standing at the entrance of the light well. After he saw him clearly, he screamed, "Dollar? What Dollar?" His co-worker was confused and could not react. The worker earlier immediately replied, "What other Dollar could it be? He was inside the godless fight." Golden Growler gave Dollar the first place position. All the workers looked at the videotape. They saw a man wearing armor. He was standing at the entrance of the light well. Before they could see things clearly, the person had already punched the entrance to the fortress of the light well. He broke open the entire fortress, revealing the inside of the light well. Han Sen scanned the light well. He saw that in the large place in space, there were no stars. He was able to see an asteroid of an inverted cone shape. It was hanging in space. 2971 Well Lotus Han Sen understood that the old Extreme King did not know what sort of trick he had just used. He was able to borrow the light well Lotus power and use it on the green metal umbrella. If Han Sen attacked the Extreme King Old Man, the power he used would only harm the well light Lotus. If Han Sen wanted the well light Lotus, he could not kill the Extreme King Old Man. "You have a good plan." Han Sen squinted his eyes and looked at the Extreme King Old Man. "There are many primitive light well lotuses," the Extreme King Old Man said with a laugh. "Consider them as a gift from me. The Extreme King will still have nothing to do with you. Isn't that perfect?" What he said was kind of soft and hard. It also made sense. If he was an ordinary person who could not get the true God-class light well lotus, he would not make things any worse by offending the Extreme King. But Han Sen was very determined to get the true God-class light well lotus. He was not going to leave now. Han Sen did not speak. He looked at the primitive class light well lotuses around and waved his lance. He broke the light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. All the light well lotuses were cut by Han Senator. Many announcements played in his head. Han Sen collected the light well lotuses he cut down and threw them into his destiny's tower. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. Deified beast soul obtained. After killing 100 light well lotuses, he finally received the beast soul announcement. He looked into his sea of soul. Deified beast soul light well lotus. By Sem-type, incomplete. Han Sen was not in the mood to take a look at what the light well lotus by Sema could do. He continued slashing all the light well lotuses around. He received 213 light well lotuses. Out of them all, he only received one beast soul. After he got all the light well lotuses he could, he went back to the giant light well lotus. He looked at the Extreme King Old Man and said, "For by King's sake, if you leave now, I will not kill you." The Extreme King Old Man's expression changed. "You are being such a bully. Are the Extreme King really that easy to bully? Does that mean you are not going to leave?" Han Sen looked at the old man as he spoke. "I am not leaving. What are you going to do to me?" The old man opened the green metal umbrella and coldly laughed. Han Sen's eyes looked weirdly shiny. He stared at the old man's eyes and slowly asked, "Do you think that umbrella will safeguard your life? Maybe I cannot beat you, but if you want to kill me, this lotus will be destroyed," the old man said with certainty. "Really?" One of Han Sen's eyes suddenly released some weird light. His eye turned a blood-red color. In the next second, Han Sen had already gone right through the light of the green metal umbrella. He entered the old man's eye by using the Blood Eye Evil Eye Beast Soul Eye skill. Blurg. Blood was coming out of the Extreme King Old Man's right eye. Even the back of his head had a bloody gaping hole. Han Sen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance when he reappeared behind the Extreme King Old Man. Green sprouts grew out of the old man's wounds. They kept absorbing the extreme king old man's life force. Arg! The old man held his eye and screamed. He wanted to swing the green metal umbrella he possessed. He had only moved an inch when Han Sen's lance cut off his arm. The old man was terrified. He used his other hand to pick up the one that had been lopped off. He then picked up the green metal umbrella and flew away. He disappeared in the sky at the speed of light. "Go home and tell Bai King I used my life to get this," Han Sen said to the elder as he fled. "I deserve it." Bai King knew that the holy baby was Dollar, and he had almost got the holy baby killed. Han Sen used Dollar's identity to take the Light Well Lotus as a demand for respect. Han Sen wanted the Light Well Lotus, but he did not want the Light Well. Han Sen looked at the giant Light Well Lotus. He used the Sky Vine Radish Godlance to strike its root. With the power of the Sky Vine Radish Godlance, Han Sen slashed it a dozen times to cut it. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light Well Lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. Deified beast soul obtained. Han Sen was very happy. He did not expect to get another beast soul. He had a look inside his sea of soul. Deified beast soul Light Well Lotus. By Sima perfect. Seeing the word perfect, Han Sen was made even more thrilled. It was a perfect class beast soul. It was equal to a true god class beast soul. He still did not know what the Light Well Lotus by Sima was for. Han Sen put the giant Light Well Lotus inside his Destiny's Tower and summoned the Light Well Lotus by Sima. Surpassing Han Sen's expectations, the Light Well Lotus by Sima beast soul was quite different from the by Sima beast soul he had before. It was not a by Sima with Han Sen's body for a center. The shadow of a Light Well Lotus was in front of Han's senator. That Light Well Lotus was the center. It opened up a holy light by Sima that was 30,000 feet long. It covered the entire area. Han Sen stood inside the by Sima, but he did not feel his speed or power receive a boost. He did not detect any defensive properties within the Light Well Lotus by Sima either. Seeing the Light Well Lotus's shadow release a holy light, Han Sen jumped. He used the Sky Vine Radish Godlance to cut his finger. He had a deep wound. In the Light Well Lotus by Sima, the wound on Han Sen's finger quickly healed. The damage was instantly reversed. Healing by Sima. Han Sen was delighted by this discovery. A by Sima like that was very rare. And it was a true god class by Sima on top of that. It was very effective. Even though his body could heal fast, the sort of healing power he had now must have been the best throughout the entire universe. Han Sen tried it out a few times. He soon discovered a major problem. The Light Well Lotus by Sima's healing holy light did not concern itself with the differences between friend and foe. It did not matter who it was inside. The by Sima would have graced them with its healing power. Han Sen thought, that means I have to be careful when I make use of this. Otherwise, it may become a shield for the enemy. He took all of the Light Well Lotuses with him as he departed the Light Well. The news concerning Dollar attacking the Light Well spread across the entire universe. The world is messed up. Even the Extreme King were robbed. With the God Palaces appearing, it must be a sign of chaos. The universe is not going to be stable anymore. In the Extreme King, Bai King heard what the blind old man had to say and sent him away. He sat alone and said, I am afraid that kid is not going to stop. After remaining silent for a bit, Bai King summoned an officer. Chapter 2972 Resources delivered. Han Sen was a bit frozen from shock. He had no idea what was going on. He had robbed a lot from many different xenogeniac spaces that belonged to the Extreme King. Aside from that old man at the Light Well who challenged him, no one dared stop him when he reached the other places. They did not stop him, and they were like refugees waiting for the army to help them. They opened the gate and prepared vehicles. They gave Han Sen whatever he wanted. They were afraid Han Sen was not being able to be given enough, like a person not eating enough food, because there wasn't enough to go around. What happened? Did all the people in the Extreme King suffer a brain stroke? Han Sen had a confused expression. He was expecting some strong and hard battles, during which he could kill all the people he wanted to for fun. Now people were very passionate and willing. They were happy to provide him with whatever he requested. They even gave him cars and vehicles. He couldn't kill them after that. He called an Extreme King manager forth and asked him what was going on. The manager politely said. According to Mr. Dollar's question, the answer is that the leader claims you are a VIP for the Extreme King. Just tell us if you need anything. If there is not enough, he can tell the leader. He will have whatever you need to be sent to you from different places. Han Sen's expression was weird. He was thinking, what is wrong with Bai King? Han Sen was not sure if Bai King wanted to hurt him by telling him to go to Starter King's land. Now that he was doing this, it just made Han Sen all the more confused. Is it because Bai King knows that he cannot defeat me? Does he want to avoid his losses by concocting another scheme entirely? Han Sen was not able to think of a valid reason for all of this. After robbing a few more places, Han Sen was no longer having any fun. He was going to use the excuse of avenging Bai King. That way, he had a reason to loot and plunder. Now even Han Sen thought this was all too weird. If I don't take it, then I don't take it. If he gives it to me, why should I not take it? Han Sen made his mind up to keep robbing, but he had already robbed 18 Extreme King xenogeneic spaces. He took countless deified xenogeneic genes, and the Extreme King did not show a single speck of resistance. They provided Han Sen with everything, and he felt good about it. Ultimately, it was too much for Han Sen to rob. He made a few calculations. The resources he had were enough to support Little Angel in becoming Butterfly class. The resources required to become True God class were not things one could find in any xenogeneic space. Even if Han Sen wanted to collect more, aside from King's Kingdom, there were not many places like the Light Well that had True God class resources. Never mind. Let me take Little Angel back and check it out. If it is not enough, we can always come back for more. Although Han Sen thought that, if he was going to have to take more, it was not something he fancied doing. Han Sen took a lot of resources back to Space Garden. He asked Qin Xian to bring people to make genofluids in secret. Those resources had to be hidden. Otherwise, people would have easily figured out he was Dollar. Thus, Han Sen did not allow the Flower God people to help him compose the genofluid. The Flower Gods were now under Han Sen's complete control. The technology for all sorts of genofluids was owned by Han Senator. He told the humans, spirits, and creatures that came from the sanctuaries to help Qin Xian. Regarding the Flower Gods, Han Sen did not treat them poorly. The resources in Space Garden were all handled by them. They also kept a cut of the genofluids they created. Little Angel had many genofluids, so it accelerated her development. She quickly evolved. In less than 2 months, she was Butterfly class. Ordinary creatures that evolved that quickly would not understand their newfound abilities. Blue blood, Han Sen said to himself. All of the key questions led back to the beginning. Blood Legion's members had blue blood, and the blue blood came from the human genes. This blue blood gene power was only activated after several generations practiced Blood Pulse Sutra. Han Sen was the first generation of humans to study the Blood Pulse Sutra, so he did not have the blue blood. Even Little Flower and Little Linger, who were the second generation, did not have blue blood. So blue blood did not come about even in the second generation. It took many generations of humans practicing Blood Pulse Sutra for their blood to start becoming blue. Han Sen practiced the Blood Pulse Sutra, but he could never sense the Blood Pulse Sutra giving any sort of blue blood power. It just made his genes and genetic qualities better. Before that, Han Sen had many guesses. According to the theories he came up with, the human body should have had a hidden blue gene. The chance of it being activated with the genes of a human was more than slim. It was so small that it could not affect the bodies of humans. That was why one needed Blood Pulse Sutra for several generations. It was to fulfill and pump that blue blood gene. That way, the blue blood gene was able to become the main part of a human's genes. If Han Sen guessed all of this correctly, the blue blood genes did not come from the crystallizers, because the crystallizers did not have blue blood men. They were just like humans with red blood. There was more evidence to support the fact that crystallizers did not have blue blood genes. God's retribution and his fellows were not like ordinary human beings, and could not absorb the genes of creatures. The members who had blue blood would have to evolve by themselves. They were not able to combine their genes with the genes of any other creature. It worked like that in the sanctuaries, so it had to be the same in the big universe as well. God's retribution said he was now equal to a primitive deified. He did not say he was exactly though. No matter if a blue-blood man was in the sanctuaries or the big universe, they were a very unique sort of people. They kind of existed outside the rules, but they had big connections to ordinary humans. That was something that flummoxed Han Senator. The crystallizers were different. They were standard universal creatures. They were the same as humans in the sanctuaries. They followed the rules of the big universe to grow up. That was different from the blue-blood men. So there was no way the blue-blood genes came from the crystallizers. Han Sen thought. Stay Up Late said that humans were the results of crystallizers using their genes to combine with the genes of other creatures. The blue-blood genes had to come from that creature, but what was that creature? One thing Han Sen knew for sure was that the progress of the Blood Pulse Sutra was progress for making blue-blood genes take over the genes of humans. Han Sen did not know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. He also did not know what sort of creature that was. The reason Han Sen knew Blood Pulse Sutra was very strong was that it could make the next generation, and the generation after that stronger. He did not let his family practice the Blood Pulse Sutra, not even Little Flower and Linger. The ship left slip space and flew into a barren system. There were many stars, and there was a giant red dwarf. 2974 You'll never know. Han Sen finally saw Human King. The Human King before him was almost like a statue. He was an elegant middle-aged man. His youthful face made him look like he was 20 years old, but his presence made it clear that he was older. After entering the Red Dwarf, Han Sen had seen many Blood Legion members. They were like God's retribution. They did not have a level that other creatures of the universe were determined by. But Han Sen did not believe any of them were weak. In fact, Han Sen had been so shocked on his way there. Aside from the Extreme King, Sky Palace, the Very High, and the other high races, he did not think any other race of the universe could be as strong as Blood Legion. Han Sen was unable to tell what level they were, but he felt a dangerous presence surrounding each individual. You are finally here, my child. Human King sat on the throne. He placed his jaw in his hands and looked at Han Sen with interest. Han Sen thought that sounded weird, to say the least. But Human King was the alpha human. He suspected that calling him his child was normal behavior. Even still, Han Sen thought it was rather odd. You should just call me Han Sen, Han Sen thought. Even if you are Human King, you cannot produce a race. There must be another human alpha. Perhaps you and I are related. Human King seemed to see through what Han Sen was thinking. Human King's lips curved slightly. He gently said, in the beginning, crystallizers used their genes as blueprints to combine with the genes of other creatures. Many creatures were created this way. Humans were one such product. Back then they created 13 humans, and I was one of them. I was one of 13 alpha humans. Including me, there were 3 men and 10 women. As far as I know, the other 2 men did not make it. They could not produce children. Human King laughed out loud and asked, so, do I have what it takes to call you a child? Han Sen did not answer the question. He instead asked, why do you want to see me? Han Sen could not deny that Human King might have truly been his ancestor. But Han Sen was now holding the fate of many lives back in Space Garden. He also did not know what Human King wanted. Han Sen wouldn't risk Space Garden and the fates of others just because he was an ancestor. He had to figure things out before he committed to anything. Human King still looked at Han Sen with interest. It was like he was observing a new toy. After a while, Human King said, you practice Life Door. Yes. Why accept Blood Pulse Sutra if there is Life Door? Han Sen was always confused about that. After he practiced Life Door, he only knew it would boon his Blood Pulse Sutra. He never knew what it did. Blood Pulse Sutra and Life Door were created by me. The difference is that Blood Pulse Sutra is what I experienced, and Life Door contains my thoughts. They are failed imaginations. So in Blood Legion, no one else has opened their Life Door. Up until now, only you and I have ever opened their Life Door. What? Han Sen was shocked. His eyes opened wide as he looked at Human King. He never thought he would receive such an answer. Human King seemed to be satisfied with Han Sen's reaction. He laughed and went on to say, you should feel it. Your Blood Pulse Sutra is different from the Blood Pulse Sutra known by God's retribution. You have many powers that God's retribution, and the others do not have. It is as if your genes are stronger. Your blood pulse sutra can aid other creatures in evolving. It is no wonder why I felt my blood pulse sutra was different from God's retribution, Han Sen said with a nod. He had guessed it was something like this before. So this was the confirmation he had always sought. Even so, Han Sen was still confused. He looked at Human King and asked, "If Life Door is that powerful, why do you claim it is a failure? Why do you not let other Blood Legion members practice it?" Human King did not answer Han Sen's question. He looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. He looked at Han Sen and asked, "You have practiced for a long time. You must know how Blood Pulse Sutra works, yes? Why don't you tell me?" Han Sen did not know why he asked that, but he still said, "If I had to wager a guess, the Blood Pulse Sutra is for extracting some kind of gene from the human body." Upon hearing this, Human King nodded. "Yes, I created the Blood Pulse Sutra, so that humans could return to being what they originally were. I wanted to purify their blood for pure humans again. Life Door's genes are not pure. They will give all the genes priority, that goes against what I want. Thus to me Life Door is a failure." Han Sen now understood that Life Door was not really a failure. It was just because it was not what Human King wanted. That was why he claimed it was a failure. Are saying the origin is the blue blood gene? Han Sen asked. Why are humans with blue blood genes considered real humans? Human King looked at Han Sen and coldly answered. Humanity is a race created by the crystallizers combining their genes with that of another creature. If you were able to guess the usage of Blood Pulse Sutra, you should know why the blue blood genes result in true humans. Are you saying that human genes are the result of crystallizer genes and blue blood people's genes? What race are the blue blood people? Han Sen's heart quickly jumped. He really wanted to know the answer. You managed to claim Qin Shio's Holy Spirit, yet you didn't know Qin Shio's blood was blue. Human King squinted his eyes as he looked at Han Sr. What? Han Sen screamed. Are you saying humans are the byproduct of crystallizer genes being mixed with sacred leader Qin Shio's genes? Han Sen suddenly understood a lot more. He understood why the God Spirit picked on humans. It also explained why God said those with blue blood were real humans. It was all because of sacred leader Qin Shio. Apparently, Human King loved to see Han Sen keep losing his mind. He laughed and said, back then, sacred was destroyed during the God fights. Qin Shio battled a sky full of God spirits, but he was ultimately defeated. Crystallizers were fortunate enough to claim one drop of his blood when Qin Shio blew up. They researched it. When they retreated into the sanctuaries, they combined that blood with the genes of their own crystallizers. They produced 13 humans. After pausing, Human King went on to say, but the crystallizers' genes were weak, and Qin Shio's genes were not studied enough. The genes of a human were only a small part of it. I created the Blood Pulse Sutra, so we could activate, develop, and recover that missing gene, so that human genes could lean more toward Qin Shio. After saying that, Human King sighed. I never expected what I wanted to do would fail, and it happened when it was not meant to be. The life door I believed to have failed helped you create Little Flower. He has a body like Qin Shio, but he does not have blue blood. You'll never know. Chapter 2975 Better Than True God. Do you know Little Flower? Han Sen frowned and looked at Human King. Little Flower was taken by Old Cat a long time ago. He had been trapped in sacred. Aside from showing up in the Geno being scroll fight, no one else had seen him. Yet Human King knew about Little Flower, and he knew a lot about him. Nine Life Cat represented Blood Legion, and was a mascot for them. It made Han Sen start to think of many things. Human King weirdly looked at Han Sen and asked, do you want to know about the relationship between me and Old Cat? Han Sen nodded, but did not say anything. Human King laughed to himself. To be honest with you, I am just like you. We are the failures that were abandoned by Old Cat. I do not understand what you mean, Han Sen said. Old Cat was the guardian of the sanctuaries, Human King coldly said. Without his help, do you think the crystallizers would have been able to hide in the sanctuaries for good? I even wondered that. With the crystallizers sharing Qin Shio's blood, and escaping to the sanctuaries to do all kinds of research, Everything that happened involved Old Cat and Qin Xiu. Perhaps it was Qin Xiu who was trying to find his heir. After that, Human King looked at Han Senator. He went on to say, "You and I are the failures Old Cat has been watching over the years." He gave up. Only your son Little Flower was approved by Old Cat. He became Qin Xiu's heir. Han's son now understood what Human King meant. Simply said, Human King was just like him. They had Old Cat's help and attention, but they were not selected by him. Human King squinted his eyes as he peered at Han Senator. It looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. You should not think that being an ancestor of Qin Xiu is a good thing. It is actually the opposite. If Qin Xiu dared to choose my son as an ancestor, I would do all in my power to rip him apart and destroy all that remained of his petty factions. What Human King said was something Han's son was in total agreement with, but he still wanted to know why Human King felt that way. Therefore he asked, why? He took my son and sent my son to die, Human King coldly said. That is enough of a reason for me to kill his entire family 10,000 times over. Are you saying Qin Xiu's plan would not work? Han's son quietly asked. He understood what that meant. If he succeeded, Sacred would not be what it is today. Human King looked at Han Sr. Don't you have the Holy Spirit of that Kirin Qin Xiu made? What do you think of that Kirin's Holy Spirit power? It is very strong, Han's son said. Really? Human King's smile grew deeper. You should use that Holy Kirin spirit that you said is very strong to strike me as hard as you can. I want to see how strong Qin Xiu's stuff is. Sure, if you don't mind that. Han's son pulled out his cause karma knife and summoned the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit on it. The Kirin's Holy Spirit possessed a blade. It was possible for it to be anything as long as it was a weapon. Han's son wanted to know how strong Human King was, so he was not going to deny Human King's request. He also knew Human King had suggested this as a way for him to gauge Han's son's strength, so there was no use denying him. Han's son looked at Human King. The holy light on the blade was strong. It was like a demon flame that flickered. Human King was still sitting on the throne. He observed Han's son and his knife with interest. I am so sorry. Han's son slashed Human King like mad. The knife light was like some laser that could split a world. It came right before Human King. Ding! Human King did not move. Even his face remained the same. He continued to sit where he was. Somehow his hand appeared beneath the knife. His middle finger and index finger captured Hansen's cause karma knife. That scary knife light was immediately broken by his very powerful fingers. Hansen's expression changed. Maintain your crystallizer identity. No matter what happens, tell no one about your true identity. You need to do that to live longer and have more chances. Human King looked serious. After sending the green-haired growler and Ghana woman away, Hansen thought about matters for a while. He eventually decided to challenge the God Spirit with Dollar's identity. This time, the God Spirit Han's son decided to challenge was not Moment God. It was going to be the disaster class No World God. Han's son heard the demon lady say that No World God's power could enable him to be immune to time powers for a while. If he was able to get his hands on No World God's God personality armament, it would be a great help for saving Golden Growler. When there was no one around, Han's son turned into xenogenic mode and equipped himself with his Dongxian armor. He then wore the Sky God crown. The Sky God crown was an Annihilation class God personality armament. It was 2 levels higher than the Sky Vine Radish God lance. It was a God personality armament that was almost as good as Moment God. Han's son had never used the Sky God crown before because he did not know what power it possessed. It was not like it was high level or automatically useful like the Light Well Lotus Beast Soul. Although it was a high-level beast soul, its power involved healing. In a deathmatch battle, it would not serve much of a purpose. Hansen thought. Back then, God said the Sky God crown would allow me to enter the Geno halls freely. Now the Geno halls are all on display. Does the Sky God crown have any other uses? After thinking for a while, he had decided to wear the Sky God crown. The moment Han's son put on the Sky God crown, a god light mist like a rainbow came down. It covered his entire body. From afar, Han's son looked like a godly rainbow mist. Catcha! Han's son saw the universe's cogwheels spin. It was like there was a giant mechanical door opening in front of him. This was like the core area or the God area opening. The door did not open solely for Han's senator, it was because of the sky god crown. Han's son looked at the space door. He saw a rainbow mist light. Countless substance chains were connected. One was not able to see what it was. After hesitating for a moment, Han's son walked toward the rainbow mist light that was flowing around the door. After his body completely walked through the door closed. It disappeared back into the nether of space. The weird scene was gone too. This is God Temple. Han's son frowned and looked at what was in front of him. It was a jade stone God Temple. Beneath Han's son's feet was a God Temple. He saw Skyvine Radish God be revived in this temple. He was not wrong about that. This was a God Temple, and he was standing on the altar of the God Temple. Annihilation God Temple opened. Name the God Temple. A voice echoed through the God Temple. A God flag flew toward Han Sr. What is going on? Did I become a God spirit? Han's son frowned and looked at the empty God flag. The God flag he used to see already had names. This one was empty. There was nothing on the flag. Han's son did not want to be a God spirit. Even if it was an annihilation class God spirit, he did not want that. You are finally here. Chapter 2977 God Spirits Special Authority Han's son looked at God and said, You got here at just the right time. Why did I become a God spirit for just wearing this sky god crown? God laughed and said, You did not become a God spirit. Because the sky god crown is here, you temporarily became a God spirit. If you remove the sky god crown, none of that will exist. After hearing that, Han took off the sky god crown and departed the God Temple. When he put the sky god crown again, he returned to that God Temple. The white God flag appeared in front of him. Is that all this sky god crown does? Han's son was disappointed. To him, becoming a God spirit did not appear to be particularly useful. God sat down on the God altar's edge and casually asked, Is that still not enough for you? You do not need to do what God spirits do, but you get to enjoy the benefits of a God spirit. Many God spirits would like that. Han's son's heart jumped as he quickly asked, What responsibility and benefits do gods have? As long as you wear the sky god crown, if the sky god crown is not broken, you will be like other God spirits, God said. You will have an immortal body inside the God Temple. Even if you are killed, you will respawn here in the God Temple. Han's son lifted his lips and asked, What does that mean? I do not want to be stuck inside a God Temple forever. Of course it does have meaning. For example, if you are up against a powerful enemy that you cannot beat, you do not need to be afraid of dying when you are in the God Temple. You can fight them without fear. God laughed. Han's son shook his head. That does not make sense. If I were killed by my enemy, he would just take my God flag. Then, I would end up dead. That is the power of Sky God Crown. Even if someone removes your flag, it will just break your Sky God Crown. You will still respawn, but you will lose the authority of being a God spirit. God pointed at the Sky God Crown and went on to say, Plus, when you're a God spirit, you have the authority of a God spirit. You can trade with any creature in the universe and gain their lifespan. Han's son had always wondered that. The God spirits were immortal existences, so why did they require the years of others? Based on God's method, they used a lot of effort. They would do anything for another creature's lifespan. Han's son did not understand why they did it. To the immortal God spirits, what is the point of extending their lifespan? Han's son pretended to look disdained. About that, you will understand in the future. God did not answer Han's son's question. He laughed and told Han's son, As for the responsibilities of gods, it is quite simple. There is only one task, which is to protect the Geno Hall, and forbid it from being invaded by other creatures. Protect the Geno Hall? Han's son asked with an obvious look of confusion. Does the Geno Hall require protection? Let's not talk about other things. But that woman inside the Geno Hall is invincible. God shook his head. The goddess you talk about is one of the 12 Annihilation class God spirits. Those 12 Annihilation class God spirits guard the Geno Hall in sequence. Their responsibility is the same as all the other God spirits though. There is no difference between them. What about the Geno Hall? Does the Geno Hall have no god spirits? Hansen quickly asked. God laughed but did not answer. When you enter the Geno Hall, you will understand. As long as you have the Sky God crown, you will earn the benefits of a god spirit minus the responsibility. You can also give up the god spirit identity whenever you please. Are you still not satisfied with this good stuff? Aside from all that, Sky God crown has no battle abilities? Hansen still thought it was useless for him to become a god spirit. God laughed. Of course. The Sky God crown is almost indestructible. Its durability is stronger than most Annihilation-class god personality armaments. If Hansen gave someone more wealth than he earned in his life, very bad things would happen to that person. Chapter 2978 Fulfill Your Wishes. Hansen thought. Is an Annihilation-class god spirit's authority just wealth? Those gods used to say they could do anything and fulfill any wish they wanted to. That is such a big scam. According to the god spirit rules, god spirits could not give fake information. If they lied, they would not be able to finalize a trade. They would not receive the lifespans they sought. To compose a trade, god spirits would use everything they could. I really don't understand why they seem to be so keen on seeking out years. Sky God Crown's message had not included that. Therefore, Hansen was unable to find out. That aside, god spirits had the authority to leave the god temples. They were not able to leave the god temples for long. During that period, the god temple was sealed up so they could not be challenged. Unless the god spirits possessed a creature of the universe, they would not be able to leave for a very long time. If they did do that, they would not receive protection from the god temples anymore. If they died, they died. Unless the god personality was taken back to the god temple, they could no longer be respawned. There was still one very important thing. God spirits were allowed to challenge god spirits that were a higher level than them. But that was pointless for Hansen because he was not a real god spirit. He could not level up his position any higher. Even if he could challenge them, Hansen was already annihilation level. He could only challenge god spirits that were at a higher level than him. Hansen could not fight an enemy that was the same annihilation class as he was. To challenge a reboot class god spirit was a death wish. Hansen would never have tried being so bold. Hansen looked at God and wished to say something, but God winked at him. He looked at the door of the god temple and said, "You have business to attend to." "What do you mean?" Hansen looked at the god temple's door. He did not see anything. He turned around and looked at God, but he was gone. While Hansen was wondering what was going on, he saw someone fly into the god plaza area. They were flying toward his god temple. Hansen wondered, it cannot be this much of a coincidence. I have only just become a god spirit, and a creature in the universe already wants to challenge me. According to what Hansen had been inspecting, the universe creatures only dared challenging destruction class god spirits. No one dared to challenge disaster class. Why would a creature go and challenge him, who was annihilation class? That body was coming straight for Hansen's god temple. It soon entered the radius of the god temple. The god palace and god temples were situated in a realm that was between reality and space. No matter where one was in the universe, if one's mind was in God's palace, one could go there. A creature that was able to fly in the universe could just use an airship to go to a god palace. It did not matter how far or near one was. Hansen stared at the body. He was shocked. It was someone he knew. Why is Fox Queen coming here for? Hansen thought. Fox Queen was the wife of Ghostbone General. As far as Hansen knew, her power was not very strong when compared to most deifieds. She was not able to fight a destruction class god spirit. How could she hope to tackle an annihilation class god spirit? While Hansen was making guesses, Fox Queen was already in the plaza of the god temple. By the rules of the god spirits, Hansen had no choice but to fight. Otherwise, Fox Queen was able to replace his god spirit flag. As long as the Sky God crown was not broken, he would not die. Fox Queen came before the god temple and kneeled as if she was praying to a god. "Mr. God of Wealth, I want to make a wish to you. Please help me." It looks like she is not here to challenge a god spirit. Hansen was shocked. He said, If you have come for a wish, then come in and speak. Thank you, Mr. Chapter 2979. Forever a slave. Han Sun felt a bit regretful about allowing Fox Queen to enter the God Temple and make a wish. After she made her wish, he was unable to hurt or kick Fox Queen to the curb. He was not allowed to reject the wish. He had to find a way to make her wish come true. Han Sun saw that the 9-spin destiny mirror was only worth 300 years of her lifespan. That was too little for him, so he did not want to make the trade. Fortunately, Han Sen's position as a god was Annihilation class. Compared to the Destruction class and Disaster class, Annihilation god spirits had special powers. It was like Han Sun was able to apply more rules that lesser god spirits could not enforce. A Destruction class god spirit did not have that power. Of course, Destruction class god spirits were able to make the same conditions, but the conditions they enforced would not be protected by the rules of god spirits. Even if the wisher betrayed the rules, the Destruction class god spirit could not do anything about it. Upon hearing this, Fox Queen felt her body shake. Although she knew she was going to lose some years of her lifespan, hearing the two conditions made her scared. Based on her knowledge of god spirits, she knew looking for a Destruction class god spirit to make a wish would not put on an extra condition. Destruction class god spirits may not have been able to take the 9-spin destiny mirror from Han Senator, even if it was taken back. The price to pay would have been very high. Perhaps her lifespan would be all gone. Fox Queen risked coming there to find an Annihilation class god spirit. She hoped such a god spirit would complete the wish with ease, and she would not have to pay up much of her lifespan. High-class god spirits had the power to apply an additional charge. Fox Queen was helpless to control it. If she did not agree to the extra condition, the wish would not be done. It would become a problem. There was a chance she would not leave that place alive. Please tell me, Mr. Fox Queen looked at Han Sun with sad eyes. Her face looked very pitiable. It was the sort of look that could make one buckle and comply with whatever she wanted. It made people want to comfort her. By using small tricks against me, do you want to die? Han Sun coldly grunted. His body had god powers. It was like hell. It was like a sea. It was headed for Fox Queen. Fox Queen's body shivered. She immediately kowtowed and said, "Please do not be mad. It was my fault. Please forgive how ignorant I am." Seeing Fox Queen quivering beneath the altar, Han Sun felt delighted. Fox Queen used to cause him so much trouble. Now Fox Queen's fate was in his hands. It made him feel incredibly good. It was a shame Han Sun had let her into the temple to make a wish. That kind of offense was enough to cancel the wish transaction. Therefore, Han Sun had no choice but to continue. "I can help you get back 9-spin destiny mirror, but you need to be my slave forever." Han Sun was like a lion opening his mouth. He did not want to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror for 300 years of her lifespan. If Fox Queen did not agree to the terms and conditions, the wish would fail. Han Sun would no longer have to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror. If Fox Queen agreed, her life would forever be in Han Sen's hands. She would become a slave and forever be ruled by him. Giving her the 9-spin destiny mirror did not change much. Upon hearing this condition, Fox Queen looked terrible. Her body started to shake. The conditions he made were greater than she thought they would be. It was like taking her life. "Mister, can you do that for me because I am so poor?" Fox Queen pretended to be destitute as she kneeled. "You cannot talk in front of a god. If you don't want it, forget about it. Turn around and go home." Han Sun did not care about her feelings, so he spoke as harshly as he wanted to. "Please do not be mad." Fox Queen bowed again. She looked sincere, but her mind was thinking, "I just wanted to come and try this god of wealth that I have never heard of before. I did not expect he would compose conditions this gross. But that is good. If he makes a condition like that, he is not going to steal all the years of my lifespan. Perhaps I will not lose much of my lifespan. This is the end of the road. To be held by this Annihilation god spirit is safer. If the Extreme King wants to kill me, it will be even harder for them." Although she thought of things this way, in her mind, she was a bit annoyed. This is all because of that Han Senator. If it was not for him, I would not have gone to Destiny's Tower. He also took the 9-spin destiny mirror, which made me become an enemy of the extreme king. That by Wuchang keeps chasing me. He has forced me into this position, so now I have no choice. She continued to think. This time, the god of wealth will take the 9-spin destiny mirror. Han's son will be doomed, which makes me feel a bit better. Thinking of all this, Fox Queen realized she did not have much of a choice in the matter. If she went to another annihilation god spirit, they might not have even allowed her to make a wish. She bowed and said, I will do whatever you tell me to do. As Fox Queen said that, the sky god crown shone with a god light. Hansen knew that the deal was made. He only had to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror, and 300 years of Fox Queen's lifespan would be his. Fox Queen, I bet you never dreamed of this day. Hansen was feeling very cocky. He did not give her the 9-spin destiny mirror yet. He coldly said, You go home first. Come back to the God Hall in 3 days, and pick up the 9-spin destiny mirror. Fox Queen immediately said thank you, but she did not leave just yet. She changed her tone and said to Hansen, Mister, there is something I know. Perhaps it will help you get the 9-spin destiny mirror back. I do not know if I should tell you. Hansen coldly asked, Oh, why don't you indulge me? Fox Queen was not able to see Hansen's face, but he did not sound very interested. She quickly said, The 9-spin destiny mirror is in that crystallizer Hansen's hands. From what I know about him, he got the 9-spin destiny mirror from Destiny's Tower. He destroyed the god doll inside. Really? Hansen feigned surprise. In his mind he coldly laughed. Very good, Fox Queen. You are convincing a god spirit to trick me. I will remember this, and I will make you pay. Fox Queen looked at Hansen, who now seemed interested. She quickly said, That god doll was in the Extreme King for many years. It must have collected a great number of years. Hansen broke the god doll, so he must have a lot of lifespan in him. Fox Queen stopped talking, but it was so obvious what she was doing. It was like she was saying, Mr. God Spirit, look at Hansen like he is a big slab of meat. You should go and dine on him. After all, no creature dares to challenge a disaster-class god spirit. No way. He is flying to a higher level of god palaces. Is he going to save Golden Growler? Stop making jokes. Han Godfather and those 2 true gods from Empty Mountain were beaten by Moment God with ease. Dollar would die by going there. It is hard for us to say. Dollar and Golden Growler's relationship is special. Golden Growler gave him the first place. It is only fair that he would try to save him, right? After a while, many creatures watched Hansen fly toward a disaster god palace. Someone said, There's no way he's going to challenge Moment God. That would be him having a death wish. Golden Growler really is blind. He gave him the godless seat. It is just like Godfather Han. While everyone was talking, Han's son entered the radius of the God Temple. He was on the God Temple's plaza. It was a very old stone God Temple. The God Temple looked like a medieval church. The God Temple had 2 floors. There was a big stone clock. The minute, hour, and second hands were ticking slowly. It was like a normal watch but very large. Moment God. Hansen looked at the god's title on the god flag. He was shocked. Anyone knew that this Moment God could be a time disaster god spirit. Hansen had come to challenge Moment God because he wanted to see how things fared in xenogenic mode. He wanted to see if he could fight a disaster class god spirit, so he could ready himself to fight Moment God in the future. They were both time element god spirits. If he was unable to fight a disaster class god spirit, he could not fight an annihilation class Moment God. A sharp and squeaky voice came from the God Temple's stone door. Heaven has roads we do not walk. Hell has no doors, and you come knocking. Do you have a death wish? With that sound, the stone door opened up. A shadow emerged from the God Temple. Han's son, and the races of the universe's creatures, and people stared at the God Spirit that was coming out from the God Temple. This was the first time someone had sought to challenge a disaster-class God Spirit. It was a very eye-catching sight. When that shadow walked out of the stone temple's door, many creatures saw that it was a weird creature. It looked like a human, but its skin was a black carapace. It looked like a human bug. Its eyes were very weird. The eyes had no pupils. They were just white. Within the eye white, there was the illustration of a clock. It included the hands that told the time, and the numbers they went around. Han Sen was not about to underestimate this foe. After all, he had never fought a disaster god spirit before. The god spirits he used to kill were all destruction class. He held the sky vine radish god lance, and gathered up the power on the tip of the lance. He used the Dongxian Sutra to the max suddenly. The whole universe was a complicated machine in Han Sen's eyes. Countless universes were spinning. Bezisti. A lance was thrust forward. It was like space was punctured by that lance. Chapter 2981. Time is like a ruler. Blasphemy to a god spirit should result in death. Moment God coldly looked at Han Senator. The needles in his right eye were turning quickly. It was different from the ones in his left eye. The needles in his right eye were going counterclockwise. As the needles of his right eye spun, in other people's eyes, Han Sen's movements seemed to be slower. It looked like he was moving in slow motion. Moment God's speed wasn't slowing down. He was very fast. One was fast, and the other was slow. It created a clear contrast. Moment God teleported in front of Han Senator. His fingers were very sharp. He was scratching toward Han Sen's face. The fingernails were like the tips of a lance. They were going to pierce Han Sen's eyes. Moment God's face looked very interested as he laughed in an evil way. He slashed downward, but Han Sen's body disappeared in front of him. In the next moment, Han Sen's body appeared near Moment God's back. The sky vine radish god lance was thrusting into his opponent's neck. The tip of the lance was right next to him. That's a very powerful teleport skill, but it is futile against me. The needles in Moment God's eyes kept spinning in different directions. Han Sen's speed was constantly slowing down while his opponent's speed grew faster. The tip of the lance almost touched his skin. Moment God established some distance between them. He turned around and threw a punch into Han Sen's belly. Han Sen was like an old man with slow reactions. He saw Moment God's punch, but he could do nothing to dodge. It was also too late for him to put the lance away. Moment God's fist was still too slow. Han Sen's body teleported to the other end of the Moment God Temple Plaza. The man and the god kept fighting. Moment God's power, which could control time, was incredibly weird. Han Sen's ability to teleport was shocking too. Neither of them was able to do anything to each other. Dollar is so strong. He can fight a disaster god spirit without reprieve. He keeps using teleportation skills to move around. Don't say that. Moment God has to be a time element god spirit. He has the power to make Dollar slow down in a web of time. That does not only make him slow down, but his powers and mind also slow down. If it was a normal person in this situation, even if he had a teleportation skill, it would be too late to use them. He would instantly be killed by Moment God. Dollar's thoughts traveled 10,000 miles per hour. They are not restricted by the time god's power. In the universe, not many people can practice teleportation skills to this level. It is almost as good as the very high with their god's wander ability. No matter how powerful his teleportation skills are, he cannot defeat Moment God. Han Sen had his time area to use, but it was his other persona that was making use of it. He was not able to use it as he was now. Plus, a time ghost beast soul's time area was weaker than Moment God's time god power. Even if he used it, it would not make a change in the current fight. Using time power before time element god spirits was like using a big knife against a Guan Yu. Han Sen did not plan on doing that. Because Han Sen had the time area, he knew that breaking Moment God's time god area could only be accomplished through two different techniques. One required speed, and one required absolute power. Old Vulture used absolute speed to break Han Sen's time area. Han Sen did not have that kind of speed, so all he could do was use absolute power to break Moment God's god power. It does not matter with time or space, but the rules of the universe are the rules of the universe. They are governed by the universal cogwheels. If I can control the cogwheels of the universe, I can prohibit the universal cogwheels from moving. Even god powers will be unable to affect the spread. Han Sen teleported to dodge Moment God's attack. Chapter 2982. Time. etching the whole of space in the area of the god temple was twisted. Nothing was visible with any ordinary clarity. This was what the deified elites could see, but even their vision started to become distorted. It was like a shadow in the water. When the water moved, the vision twisted. Moment God held his time bracelet. He mumbled words like a Buddha speaking for the dead. In that twisted parcel of space, Moment God's body was like a sky god covering the whole of the god temple's sky. Han Sun was like a tiny ant. Except a god's anger. Time etching. Moment God's god voice was loud. He raised the bracelet that was in his hands. The needless present in the 12 eyeballs was spinning madly. In one moment, Han Sun felt as if he could see the flow of time with his eyes. All the numbers in the 12 eyes fired out some weird, twisted lights. The light connected them in the 12 eyes. It was like a giant net covering the entire god temple's area. Han Sun did not have a space to avoid it. He could not find a place to be safe. 1G he saw the weird light cross together like a net. It was coming down. Han Sun pushed his Dongxian aura to the max. But he still could not stop the twisting lines of time that were descending. The time light's line landed on Han Sen's Dongxian armor. It was like a laser, and left some weird markings on it. It was like a symbol that represented time. It scrawled across the entire battle armor's surface. This is. Han Sun noticed his body did not get injured. Instead, his whole body was marked. The markings were releasing a weird sort of power. Han Sun wanted to raise his hands and see what had been etched into his armor and what it meant for him. He shockingly found out his arm was no longer listening to him. He was unable to move it. Why is this happening? Han Sun quickly discovered that it was not just his arm. His whole body was unable to move. He was not even able to cast a Geno art. Han Sun was feeling very strange. Although he was unable to move, he still felt his body existed. He was able to feel his body's presence flowing. Everything seemed to be normal. Whenever he wanted to do something, his hands, legs, and presence listened. This feeling was very weird. It was like a ghost crushing him. He felt everything but could not move. Moment God looked at Han Sun coldly. The god blood was still flowing from his eye sockets. He was holding the bracelet while he said, "Stop wasting your breath. Your time is already being erased. There is nothing you can do about it now. You can only accept God's punishment. That is the result of your blasphemy toward a god spirit." What Moment God said was very simple. Han Sun understood what he meant, because he had practiced a time area Geno art. He knew something about time element powers. Moment God had just reminded him a little, so Han Sun knew what the time etching power could do. Han Sun's body was not paralyzed, because the time etching wiped off his body for a while. It was hard to explain. Normally, when Han Sun wanted to do something, once his mind set it up, his body reacted. The time etching marks erased his body for a while. When Han Sun had the idea to move, the time would be empty afterward. He needed to wait until the empty time was over. Then, Han Sun's body would have the needed reaction. It was like playing a video game, and the internet suddenly lagged. The time in between was wiped away. When the internet came back, the body reacted. Han Sun did not know how long that empty time was. After seeing Moment God's very relaxed face, he knew it would not be anytime soon. Moment God's hands were clutching the bloody eyeball necklace. He walked toward Han Senator. The sockets that had god blood coldly looked at Han Senator. They were going to touch Han Sen's face. He licked his lips and smiled evilly. Moment God then said, "I thought you were so good at fighting. I am standing right here." Chapter 2983 Killing a God Spirit. Moment God did not believe Han Sun could break the time etching's control. He was too close to Han Senator. He wanted to use time power to stop Han Sun. But it was no longer working. In that burning light, Han Sun was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It had cold light that pierced into Moment God's chest. "So what if you can hit me? The body of a disaster-class God Spirit cannot be harmed by you." Before Moment God finished his sentence, his face changed. He looked down and saw Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance had perforated his chest. In that cold light, Moment God's disaster-class God Spirit body was pierced. His body started to collapse from the point of that wound on his body. "No, this is impossible." Moment God thought it was unbelievable and screamed. His entire body turned into dust and exploded. It looks like my super god spirit mode has become much stronger as I leveled up. Han Sen was a little surprised by its effectiveness. He had not expected to kill Moment God in the way he had with one hit. He was hoping to just heavily damage Moment God. The moment he used Super God Spirit Mode, he chose his strongest attack, Super Spank. The effect far exceeded Han Sen's expectations. With one hit, he blew up the Disaster Class God Spirit Moment God. Although Moment God had been very careless, the main reason for defeating him was because Han Sen's Super God Spirit Mode was just too strong. Han Sen measured it a little. Even when he used the Kirin's Holy Spirit, it was no match for the power of Super God Spirit Mode. But Wanner was there. His Super God Spirit only let out a strike, and that was that. It quickly dissolved. Han Sen returned to normal. It had all happened very fast. The universe's audience saw Han Sen's body explode with white light. In the next second, he was thrusting his weapon through Moment God. The incredibly strong Disaster Class Moment God had not been able to resist. He screamed and died. The universe went silent. After a while, all the creatures started reacting. Everyone was erupting with chatter. It is no wonder Dollar is the strongest in the universe. One lance strike was enough to blow up a Disaster Class God Spirit. That is invincible. Huh, you did not say that before. You said Han Sen's God List number 1 was given by Golden Growler. That is not what I meant. Golden Growler gave out number 1 because he knew he would lose. Otherwise, why would he give it to him? It just means Dollar is too strong. Dollar is too strong. He must be the first creature in the universe to slay a Disaster Class God Spirit. Everybody was talking about it. The green-haired beast from Empty Mountain gnashed its teeth and madly said, Dollar has that power. Yet he did not go to save Little Mountain Leader. If he cooperates with Han Sen, perhaps they can save Little Mountain from that Moment God Temple. The Ghana woman coldly grunted, wolf hearts and dog lungs. They had no idea Han Sen and Dollar could not cooperate. No one suspected Han Sen and Dollar were the same person because they were of a different race. It was like a cat and a dog. No one would have believed they were the same. In the Geno Hall, God looked at Han Sen standing in front of the God Temple. He frowned and thought, this power. It is going to reach that level. His body really is different. In Blood Legion, Human King squinted his eyes and looked at Han Senator. His eyes looked weird. On the streets of a small planet, a fortune-telling old man opened his eyes wide. He looked at Han Sen in front of the God Temple. He was full of confusion and said, weird. Not a God Spirit. How could he use a power that was like a God Spirit? Sky Palace leader frowned and receded into his thoughts. Dollar, what race is he? Why would he possess that power? In front of Moment God Temple, Moment God turned into dust, but did not fade away like other God Spirits. The God Temple's God altar did not start. The God flag that had Moment God's title suddenly turned white. The God Temple started to look dim. It turned into an empty temple with no God Spirit. What? What is going on? How has God Spirit not been revived? Everyone was shocked. They did not know what was happening. The God Spirit that claimed to be immortal did not respawn. Han Sen was confused too. After he hunted Moment God, he only received one announcement. Disaster Class God Spirit hunted Moment God. The announcement was just that one simple line. No God Spirit or God Spirit gene was received. It was different from what Han Sen had slain before. What is going on? Is it because of Super Spank, or is it a problem with my Super God Spirit mode? Han Sen suddenly had many ideas running through his mind. On the other side of the God Temple's plaza, a body stood where it was. It was looking at Han Sen with much shock. After a moment, that shocked face suddenly had a weird smile and said, Dollar really is legendary. One lance enabled you to slay a god. In the universe, you really must be number 1. Bai King. Han Sen turned around. He felt weird. He knew Bai King was already there, but he did not know why Bai King had come there now. Obviously, Bai King had arrived there in the hopes of saving him. If he had not used his Super God Spirit mode, Bai King would have come there to take Moment God's strike on his behalf. Han Sen did not think his relationship with Bai King was that good. So far, Everything Bai King did confused Han. Senator Han Sun looked at Bai King and asked, "Why? This place is not appropriate for us to talk. Let us find another place to talk." After speaking, Bai King left the god palaces. Han Sun followed Bai King and flew away from the god palaces. He really wanted to know what Bai King's motive was for treating him the way he was all the time. Han Sun and Bai King disappeared after leaving the god temple because the god palaces showed up again. It was a place everyone could see from across the universe. Every race was able to witness what happened near the god palaces. After leaving the god palaces, unless they were close to Han Sun, no one could see them. This act made the universe blow up. Every creature was shocked and confused. Aren't god spirits immortal? What is going on? How was Dollar able to murder a god spirit? What just happened? Why didn't Moment God revive inside the god temple? Oh my god! Dollar can really slay god spirits. It looks like god spirits are not invincible. They claim to be immortal, but he was killed by Dollar. The whole universe was talking about Han Sun killing a god spirit. The invincible image of god spirits seemed to have crumbled a bit. Han Sun and Bai King had just left the god palaces. They were looking for a quiet place to talk when the god palace's god temple suddenly shone very bright. There was a shield of light covering his body that looked like a god spirit. It blocked that scary shaking power. The god spirit hammered down. This time, the hammer's strike was greater than the last one. Han Sun was in too much shock. He was forced to gather up power and ready himself for another battle. Boom! Bai King's body appeared in front of Han's senator. That weird light was following Bai King's movement. It created a defensive bulwark and blocked the god spirit's heavy hammer attack. Spirit of God. Han Sun was shocked. When he looked closer, it was not really a god spirit. The light of Bai King's body was like a god and a demon. It was like an ancient battle spirit. It had 3 heads and 6 arms. 6 of the hands were wielding different weapons. There was a sword, knife, shield, jian, ring, and mirror. There were 4 types of weapons, and they were releasing a weird and mysterious light. The one that blocked the god spirit's hammer attack was the shield. Han Sun looked at the light. It looked just like a beast's soul and god spirit, but it was different. He was thinking of the Xenogeniacs that had no souls in the 9 Defense Palace. He thought, are these spirit weapons made from the Xenogeniac spirits? Bai King stared at the god spirit and slowly said to Han Sun, "You leave now. Why are you saving me?" Han Sun did not understand why Bai King was risking a fight against this god spirit to save him. In any way, his relationship with Bai King was not a positive one. If Bai King had come to save him because he was a student, Han Sun believed that was hogwash. When Bai King's son died, he had not taken it that seriously, and he was just a student. Bai King stared at the god spirit as he said, "I don't have time to talk about that. I cannot last long. Hurry up and leave. Get as far away from here as you possibly can. No one is leaving. You are all going to die today." The god's voice was like thunder. It was extremely loud. After those words were spoken, the god spirit's big hammer was coming down. The hammer carried an incredibly scary breaking power. It was suddenly in front of Bai King. The shaking of space was very scary. Now that the hammer was coming, it was so strong that even Han Sun, who was behind Bai King, felt as if he could not beat it. Bai King stared at that scary god hammer. He did not fall back. His body was like a demon god's shadow that was silently roaring in the sky. He was holding the shield while running toward the god hammer. Boom! A scary shockwave suddenly destroyed the space around. Han Sun used all of his power to fight the shockwave, but his Dongxian armor was starting to reveal cracks. Run! Bai King's voice was heard again. Han Sun gnashed his teeth. He turned around and headed for the broken space that looked like a spiderweb. Don't run! The god spirit coldly shouted. He was holding a big hammer. He waved it at Han Sun, but Bai King stopped him. If there is someone I want to save, not even a god can get in the way. Bai King's voice was clear and cold. Han Sun felt there was some scary space-shaking force behind him. Han Sun used the borrow strength skill and the shockwave to propel his sprint through the broken space. Chapter 2986. Wanner woke up. Han Sun was in super god spirit mode. That scary power went through his semi-transparent body and did not do anything to him. Han Sun was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. He teleported in front of Kill Sky God and struck his head again. He had to act very quickly since Wanner would not last long. Dong. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance carried the power of Super Spank and struck Kill Sky God's neck. The tip of the lance plunged into his muscles and dug in a few inches before it was unable to go any further. Han Sun had selected a location that had no armor for protection. If he struck the armor, the result would have likely been unfavorable. Kill Sky God's eyes flickered with god light, but he could not dodge Han Sun's strike. The god hammer in his hand kept on swinging. Against the super god spirit body, it was useless. Han Sun's Sky Vine Radish God Lance kept on attacking. It hit the same wound that had already been inflicted upon Kill Sky God. He wanted to continuously strike the same spot and sever his neck. Han Sun quickly discovered that the speed of his wound ripping was not as fast as Kill Sky God's wound healing. His repeated attacks did not accomplish much. Before the second lance reached that spot, Kill Sky God's wound released some god light and was almost healed. My power really isn't enough to kill an annihilation class god spirit. Han Sun frowned. He was in a bit of a rush. Destiny's Tower Wanner was getting worse. She was almost going to wake up. The only thing that made Han Sun happy was the fact that Destiny's Tower was being shaken by Kill Sky God's scary power and wasn't breaking. It did not even get damaged. It was just the power that made it keep bouncing around everywhere. It was moving further away from the battleground. Moaning sounds were heard from someplace within the tower. It sounded as if it was going to crack any second. It was uncertain how long it would last. If I had not borrowed a body and pushed my power to the max by using the strongest god skill, you would have been killed by now already. Kill Sky God looked at Han Sun coldly. The big hammer in his hand did not keep attacking. He allowed Han Sun's Sky Vine Radish God Lance to keep striking him, but he was still unable to inflict deadly, fatal wounds on him. Even if I cannot make use of all my power, you cannot damage my god spirit body. Let's see how long you can keep it up. Once your power has been exhausted, it will be time for me to kill you. Kill Sky God's voice was so cold that it made one feel a chill deep in their bones. Han Sun did not know how long his Super God Spirit mode will last. This was the first time he had used Super God Spirit mode as a true god. For now, he did not feel uncomfortable or anything. It was similar to Wanner not disturbing him. Super God Spirit mode should have lasted a long time. If Han Sun wanted to leave, Kill Sky God could not stop him. If he left now, Wanner would be done for. If he brought Wanner with him, the Super God Spirit mode would be gone. That would have made it impossible to flee. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Han Sun would not give up Wanner. Besides the fact that he had been taking Wanner with him for very long, even if it was a dog, he would feel emotion toward it. Plus, there were many secrets regarding Wanner that he had yet learned. Han Sun had also enjoyed 3 drinks with Qin Xiu and promised him he would take care of Wanner. He could not just back out now. With things becoming like this, I cannot care too much. I will have to use the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit to get out of this. Han Sun had no other choice. Han Sun knew Kill Sky God's real power was not as invincible as he was making it out to be. When his body landed, he did not have an absolute suppressed power. Otherwise, Skyvine Radish God Lance would not have hurt him. His god skills made his body stronger than a true god class elite. Chapter 2987. Got a god personality again. I was that strong. Han Sun was shocked. The most shocking thing about this situation came later. After Kill Sky God was injured, he was so shocked that he wanted to escape, but could not even turn around. Wanner's face displayed zero emotion. Her beautiful body was flickering like a ghost. Her hands were waving as she moved. Since she moved so fast, even with Han Sun's eye power, he only saw Wanner's body appearing and disappearing. Her hands possessed a lot of gold light as she flashed past Kill Sky God. When Kill Sky God turned his body to run, Wanner stopped. Her small body floated in space. She slowly turned, and looked at Han's Senator. Kill Sky God had only sprinted away about 30 feet before God blood was everywhere. His body was suddenly broken. It was worse than his body being hanged, drawn, and quartered. In the next second, Han's son saw a god light in the sky, but it was hidden by the Big Baron system's Big Baron power. It did not go into space and create a god sadness. After Kill Sky God's god body was burned away, one part of his upper arm bone remained. That bone was around 3 feet long. It was shaped like a hammer and pitch black. It appeared very heavy, Hansen thought. It looks like Wanner's power and mine are a bit different. The god spirit she killed left a god personality behind. The god spirits I kill leave nothing. Even the god personality was gone. Han's son was not currently in the mood to think. Wanner teleported in front of Han's Senator. He gathered up power and looked at Wander with alert eyes. The blonde Wanner might not have recognized him. Considering the power she had just put on display, she was not someone Han's son believed he was capable of combating. Wanner arrived before Han's Senator. The gold fire connected with Hansen's white flame. The two powers melted into each other as if they were connecting. Big brother. Wanner looked at Han's son with shock and fell into his arms. Han's son held Wanner, which led to their flames extinguishing. It suddenly disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Big brother. Wanner misses you. She misses you so much. Han's son looked at Wanner, but her eyelids became heavier and heavier. She tried her best to look at Han's son, but she was unable to fight the sleepiness. She closed her eyes and went to sleep. Hansen's expression looked a little distorted. Wanner's situation was very bad. Her life force was almost too weak for him to feel. It seemed as if she would die at any moment. Hansen quickly took out a bottle of Geno fluid and fed it to her. But it had no effect. He summoned the light well lots too, but that did not help Wanner either. If you miss your big brother so much, you must hold on no matter what. If you die, I can never see you again. Hansen picked up Wanner and took Kill Sky God's bone back with him. Nev Destiny's Tower's tower had a crack that went all the way up to down. It was like it had been broken by someone. Hansen knew that it had not been broken by Kill Sky God. It was Wanner who had broken it while rushing out. Hansen picked up Wander and entered Destiny's Tower. He sorted out the stuff inside. He had a conflicted expression. Everything was there except 2 people were missing. Ancient Devil and Ancient Abyss Grandmaster were gone. The stone platform and space by Seema were still fine. They were not damaged, but they were gone. I did not expect Ancient Devil would be able to escape, but that is fine by me. Hansen shook his head. He put Wanner inside Destiny's Tower and put Destiny's Tower away. He was holding that Kill Sky God arm bone. Hansen was thinking, right now, I have Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God personality. This will be the 3rd God personality I have received. But Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God were just destruction class. They cannot compare to an annihilation class Kill Sky God and his Kill Sky God God personality. Hansen was hesitating because unlike ordinary creatures, he knew the God personality was God spirit genes. Hansen knew that due to the announcements. Although Hansen was not able to absorb God spirit genes, he always believed if he was able to absorb other genes, there was no way he could absorb God spirit genes. Perhaps he had just not yet found a way to absorb the God spirit genes. It was like before in the sanctuaries, when he received super genes. At first, people were not able to absorb them. God spirit genes might have been similar to that. He was unsure whether or not putting God personalities in God personality armaments could be absorbed. That Kill Sky God is very powerful. He just descended and was almost invincible. In the God Temple, he must be even scarier. Ordinarily, I would want to kill him and Moment God, both of whom are in the same class. As I am right now, the chances of me doing that are pretty slim. If I have Kill Sky God's God personality armament, my chances will be much higher. I should go swap it. Hansen made a decision. He then thought, but I do not know what type of God personality armament Kill Sky God's God personality armament is. I hope it is armor, so I can block Moment God's attacks. There is no need for me to end up dead because of her. In Hansen's heart, he knew that Kill Sky God's God personality armament had a low chance of providing him with armor. That arm bone would probably not have ended up looking like armor. No matter what it was, having an Annihilation class god personality armament should have helped him a tremendous amount. Han Sen collected the arm bone and figured out which direction he needed to go. He kept going deep into the Big Baron systems. Since he was already there, he figured he might as well check out the Holy Hall. He wanted to see if Little Flower and Old Cat were back yet. With the Holy Spirit, the darkness did not cause Han Sen much trouble or danger. He traveled back to the Holy Palace. He arrived there safely. He was back to being Han Sen now. He reached the Holy Palace. When Han Sen used the long, bright lantern's light and saw the ruins of the Holy Palace, he was shocked. The Holy Palace had been broken when Han Sen was there. Now, the Holy Palace's ruins were dyed black in dry blood. Red Ghost, the eyeless beast, and Old Vulture's giant bodies were lying across the ruins. The wounds on their bodies were solid. Their life forces were gone. The eyeless big beast's body was split in half. Red Ghost had been decapitated, and Old Vulture's feathers had all been plucked. There was a shadow standing on top of the ruin. Someone was holding Auntie May by the neck. He lifted her up in the air. Auntie May had no strength to struggle. Her hands clutched the other hands, but she could not get away. Mr. Auntie May saw Han Sen enter the radius of the bright long lantern. She had been hopeless, but now she had a bit of hope. She gathered up all her power and used whatever she had left to shout at Han Sen. "Be wary of Old Cat." Chapter 2989 Copied Body Dong. The young man's hand almost touched Han Sen's neck when a knife light suddenly blocked it. The knife light and hand light hit each other. It left a bloody mark on the young man's hand. Sky Palaces under the sky knife skill is quite amazing. The young man looked at the bloody mark on his hand and smiled even harder. He swung his hand. The wound on his hand was gone. Han Sen dove into under the sky mind. He did not move. He just looked at the young man. His knife went down. "I want to see how much you can endure." The young man's hand changed. Time and space also changed. Han Sen's knife was slower. His place was swapped. The time and space power was similar to the legendary Holy Body. Back when Little Flower joined the Geno Being Scroll fight, he had displayed this power. Han Sen's body's time and space kept twisting, but the young man could not break Han Sen's knife skill. He already dodged Han Sen's attack. He made Han Sen slower, but he could not hurt Han Sen. Han Sen's place was changed, but he was not afraid. He still slashed toward an area where there was no one. When the young man wanted to attack Han Sen's weak spot, a knife light appeared in space and stopped his hand. The young man's face looked more terrible. He noticed there was something wrong. The space around Han Sen was twisted, but Han Sen had already cast knife lights to stop his attacks. He was being stopped by Han Sen's knife lights. "It looks like your holy body is just like that, yet you want to exceed Qin Xiao. Pa." Han Sen waved his knife as he spoke. Han Sen was actually confused. The demon lady and the others said that only Little Flower practiced talents of the holy body, but there were obviously others who had practiced Qin Xiao's holy body. The holy body was not as rare as the demon lady led him to believe. That was why Han Sen used words to offend the young man. He hoped the young man would accidentally spill the beans on some of the holy body's secrets. That is just the beginning. The young man looked mad. His eyes turned a weird blue color. Nothing but blue was visible in his eyes. His body's blood vessels were showing. Even the very small blood vessels were like small dragonflies and little snakes around his snake. His blood was starting to show. Blue blood. Han Sen was a bit shocked by this, so he looked right at the young man. As the blood changed, the young man's presence grew scarier. It was like an angry ghost that would eat everything as fuel for its power was coming out from hell. "Yes, I am a blue blood." Qin Xiao used his genes for a blueprint and combined it with better genes. "That is why I am here." Although he did not admit it, it is a truth that can never be denied. I am greater than he was. I should be the real Qin Xiao. I should be the real sacred leader. The young man's eyes looked a little insane. Han Sen suddenly understood a lot. Back then, Qin Xiao tried to copy people but gave up for some reason. Han Sen thought this young man must have been the failed test subjects that Qin Xiu abandoned. Despite what was done to them, they betrayed sacred. He looked at the young man's face and noted how much he looked like Qin Xiu. He was very similar, although they looked alike. Because Qin Xiu's presence was so special, the young man did not possess the presence that Qin Xiu had. Thus, Han Sen had not noticed how similar they were. Boom! While Han Sen was checking him out, the young man's flames turned solid. His whole body was like a transparent crystal. That is a god spirit's presence. Han Sen frowned as he looked at the young man. What came out from him was the special presence only given off by god spirits. Yes, I have Qin Xiu's genes, and I have an annihilation class god spirit's genes. I am stronger than Qin Xiu. I am the real leader of this world. The young man's body was becoming stronger. The armor he had was vaporized by his presence. His naked body was revealed. His body was like a crystal. One was able to see the blue blood coursing through his body. The blue blood power and God spirit mixed together made his presence very strange. It was like he was a human but not a human. It was like he was a god but not a god. If you are so good, why did not rule the universe after Qin Xiu was killed? Han Sen deliberately looked at him with disdain. That is Qin Xiu's fault, the young man crazily said. If he had given me the gene prototype, I would have ruled the world. Those from sacred and the god spirits would be crying before my feet. Han Sen thought the young man was very stable and perhaps end up leaking a secret or two. He quickly asked, so what is the gene prototype? It is Qin Xiu's fault. The young man crazily spoke. His eyes were full of energy. He raised his head and roared to the sky. His scary power was like a volcano erupting. The body only had blue blood. In a moment, the blue blood seemed like it was burning. It made the whole body a transparent blue. The flames on the body were blue too. Han Sen frowned. He was a little bit worried. He was afraid Little Flower might turn out like this young man. He had used all the power he had in the alliance to search for Little Flower inside the sanctuaries. But there had yet to be any news of him. That made him very worried. Qin Xiu, what are you doing? Han Sen thought Qin Xiu was scarier than these god spirits. At least god spirits had their rules and principles to follow. Qin Xiu had just done what he pleased. He had not concerned himself with the consequences of his actions. No one was able to stop him. He had no moral compass. To be without rules was a very scary thing. And Qin Xiu was the scariest demon in the deep abyss of not having any rules. Killing god spirits, using gene technology to mix races. Even the holy beasts he grew had their horns taken and souls claimed. The genes were used to replicate people. He went against nature. Qin Xiu had done many scary things. It was much scarier than what a god spirit did. The young man, who looked like a blue crystal god spirit, stared at Han Sr. Anything related to Qin Xiu should die. He slowly spoke each word. When he was done, he reached out his hand and continued looking at Han Senator. Suddenly, the blue light was released. It twisted all of space. Han Sen felt like his body was going left and right in the time and space power. Somehow, he was in front of the young man. The young man's hand grabbed him by the neck. Die! The young man's face looked murderous and full of rage. His hand was full of power. The blue light was spilling. He was going to break Han Sen's neck. Chapter 2990 Love Killing Pigs Pang. Han Sen's body was like a sponge being squeezed by the young man's hand. Suddenly, another version of his body appeared behind the young man. A weird power movement was coming out of Han Sen's fingertips. It tapped the back of the young man's head. The young man coldly laughed. If it was 4 holy spirits combined in one, perhaps it would work against me a little. With just the Kirin's holy spirit, you cannot damage my god spirit holy body at all. The young man's expression quickly changed. He noticed that Han Sen had not used the holy Kirin's power. He had just been tapped on the back of the head. After that hit, Han Sen was sent flying 1,000 miles. The young man turned around. He coldly looked at Han Sen and said, I said I am better than Qin Xiu. I am the true immortal god spirit holy body. Your power does nothing to me. Han Sen's finger had not even hurt his scalp. Han Sen remained silent. He quietly looked at the young man. Stop wasting time. After I kill you, I will reunite you with your son in the pits of hell. I will make sure you don't end up too lonely there. The young man raised a hand. He wanted to combine the power of his holy body and the God Spirit power. When he raised his arm, the young man's eyes looked smaller. He saw that his finger was uncontrollably shaking. It was steadily shaking faster. It was like his finger was playing piano in the air. It was not just his hands. The young man quickly discovered that his entire body was shaking. His muscles were twisting, and his blood vessels were jumping. He was shaking more than a person with Parkinson's disease. His body was powerfully shaking, but the young man could not feel anything wrong. It was like the body that was shaking was not his. The young man brought his hands together, but he could not stop from shaking. He screamed at Han Senior, "You! What did you do to me?" "Nothing. I just don't like trouble. Fighting powerful creatures can be tiring. So that is why I prefer turning powerful creatures into pigs. Then I kill them as they squeal. It is easier that way." Han Sen looked at the young man calmly. He lifted his cause karma knife. The holy flame on the knife was wildly shaking. "What are you? How dare you talk like that directly in front of me? Die already." The young man flashed a blue light. He was going to grab Han Senator just as he moved. His bones and flesh appeared to recede. The blue god light was fading away. The crystal god body was suddenly smaller. He now had a common body. How is that? Impossible. My God Spirit holy body. The young man was in complete shock. He peered at his hands. His hands were already leaving God Spirit mode. His entire God Spirit body started to wilt soon after. His life force and presence were shrinking. He dropped down from true God level to butterfly class. "Right now, aren't you just a pig for me to kill?" Han Sen raised his knife and swung it. Many knife streams were in the sky. They moved with Han Sen like a galaxy going into the young man's body. Arg! The young man forced himself to use his holy body's time and space power. But butterfly time and space powers were not enough to block Han Sen's stream of knives. Pang! The young man's body was hit by the knife stream. He exploded with a blue light. A trail of blue light quickly went into the darkness. In the darkness, the young man gnashed his teeth and yelled, "Han Sen, I will kill you." Han Sen ran into the darkness, but he could not see that young man's body again. He frowned. Han Sen looked back. He saw a pile of blue metal chips on the floor. Han Sen used his purple eye butterfly to take a look at the chips. He quickly discovered that those pieces belonged to a metal doll. It had to have been a treasure for copying one's body for survival. What a shame I did not kill him. Han Sen looked at the bodies of the demon lady and the others. He waved his hand, and their bodies were collected in Destiny's Tower. Han Sen did not like them much. If it was not for Little Flower, he would have killed them while he was destroying the Holy Palace. Now that they were dead, Han Sen was not going to be sad. They were true God-class bodies. Han Sen wanted to take them back and see Little Flower's reaction when he saw them. If Little Flower had no objections, Han Sen would happily turn them into Geno fluid. He looked at the ruins of the Holy Palace and departed the Big Baron systems. After leaving the Big Baron systems, he teleported back to Space Garden. Han Sen thought, Super God Spirit Body and Super Spank are powerful, but I am not sure what power that was. After killing the God Spirit, they will be destroyed and not leave anything behind. To me, that is not beneficial. I will be unable to get God Spirit genes or God Spirits. I also won't be able to get God Spirit armaments. I will be unable to make myself stronger. He thought he should kill low-level God Spirits first to find the God Personality armament that was suitable. Then he could move on with saving Golden Growler. After returning to Space Garden, Han Sen saw 9000 King. He had delivered the xenogenic genes to Space Garden, which was how he had avoided being killed. Han Sen told him about the demon lady and the others being killed. He also told him about the young man. When 9000 King heard all of that, he was infuriated. He gnashed his teeth and said, "He is a traitor." "Do you know him?" Han Sen asked. "How could I not know him? He was the master's favorite student. The master even gave him a name. They shared the same name even. His name is Qin Lan. Master treated him like a son. His reputation was higher than the 10 generals. I did not expect him to betray everything. 9000 King looked very angry. He wanted to skin Qinlan alive and get rid of sacred traitors. Han Sun asked 9000 King about Qinlan, but 9000 King did not know much. He did not know Qinlan was a gene clone of Qin Xiao. He did not know anything. The xenogenic genes 9000 King brought surprised Han Senator. There were many true God class and butterfly class xenogenic genes. There was enough there to make little angel true God class. Han Sun thought, the leftover resources can make someone else true God class too. Who should I give them to first? Aside from little angel, who was able to combine herself with him, the others could help him out in less obvious ways. It was hard for them to match him. There is no rush with this matter. I'll just leave things as they are for now. I have to put a God personality into a God personality armament first. Han Sun found a chance to be dollar again. He took the God personality to the God Palace. Chapter 2991 Getting a God Personality. Han Sun had 3 God personalities. They were the Destruction class Sky Armor God and Evil Lotus God, as well as the Annihilation class Kill Sky God. Han Sun went to Evil Lotus God's God Temple. He wanted to see what type of armament Evil Lotus God's God Personality armament was. Why is Dollar here again? Did he not just kill Moment God? Maybe he is a bloodthirsty mongrel. I don't know what level of God spirit he is challenging. It should be at least a Disaster Class 1. He killed a Disaster Class Moment God. So there is no way he is challenging something of a lower level. While everyone was discussing it, Han Sun walked into Evil Lotus God's God Temple. All the audience felt a little weird. What is going on? Why is Dollar challenging a Destruction Class God Spirit? No. That God Temple must be shut down right now. He cannot challenge it. Why is he in there? What is going on? After a while, everyone saw the God flag on the God Temple start to shine. Before long, it went dim. The God Spirit must have been killed. Han Sun quickly came out from Evil Lotus God's God Temple and went to Sky Armor God's God Temple. The same thing happened again. Han Sun quickly emerged from Sky Armor God's God Temple. Holy shit! What is happening? Dollar can enter a shut-down God Temple and slay the spirits inside? Is he cheating? Ordinary creatures did not know the difference between God Temples and sealed temples. They were all frozen. He is not leaving. Dollar is headed for the God Temple upstairs. He is not going to challenge a Disaster God Spirit again, is he? No. Dollar already challenged a Disaster Class God Temple group. He is still going up. Does he want to challenge an Annihilation Class God Spirit? He went in. He really went in. While everyone was watching, Han Sun pushed open the shut-down Kill Sky God Temple. He walked inside. The God Temple's door closed itself. Like the God Spirits that descended died outside the God Temples. Only someone holding the God Spirit's God personality can enter. Normal creatures did not kill descended God Spirits. They did not know this method to enter the God Temple. Before Han Sun entered Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God Temples, he killed the defenseless God Spirits inside. They did not have God Spirits, but he had received the God Personality armaments. Evil Lotus God's God Personality armament was a purple crystal lotus flower-shaped ring. Sky Armor God's God Personality armament was a half-body armor. It was different from what Han Sun expected. He had been hoping for a weapon. Han Sun did not try out what kind of power those 2 God Personality armaments wielded. He went to Kill Sky God Temple and saw Kill Sky God's empty shell God body standing atop the God altar. He looked very powerful but without anger. Han Sun already had the experience, so he knew it was just a useless empty shell that could not fight back. Han Sun's eyes scanned Kill Sky God. If he wanted to kill a God Spirit, he had to destroy his God base. Otherwise, the God Spirit's healing power would have been too strong for him to destroy. Evil Lotus God was a low-level God Spirit. Han Sun was able to slash open his God body and find the God base with ease. An Annihilation Class God Spirit like Kill Sky God was different. It wouldn't be as easy for him. Fortunately, Han Sun saw Kill Sky God be killed by Wanner. He saw it clearly. He knew exactly where the God base was, which saved him a lot of trouble. He was not going to use Super Spank this time. He was afraid of destroying everything, and then not being able to claim the God personality armament. In the end, he summoned his Sky Vine Radish God Lance, and pierced toward Kill Sky God's God body. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was thrust into the empty shell that was Kill Sky God's God body's chest. Sparks erupted everywhere. The strike only damaged his skin a bit. He did not even bleed. Kill Sky God's real God body is stronger than the universe God body he used when he descended. Hansen knew he would be unable to break a God base like that. He hesitated and summoned the Kiran's Holy Spirit. He made it possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance suddenly burned with white fire. Hansen struck again. This time, the tip of the lance managed to perforate it a lot. It also ended up getting stuck within the muscles and bones. Hansen thrust and thrust. He was busy for quite a while when he finally pierced through the blood and the bones inside. He saw the chest releasing a black and smoky heart. That is it. Hansen's thrust the heart. He noticed the heart was even harder than the God bones and God flesh that had kept it protected. Hansen held the Sky Vine Radish God Lance and attacked it for half an hour before finally being able to pierce through the heart. He wiped away the sweat that had accumulated on his forehead and said, "Luckily, that guy possessed someone when he descended to chase me. If he had used this God body to fight me, my fight would have been harder." After completely destroying the heart, Hansen quickly brought out the Kill Sky God arm bone. The God body turned a light substance and headed toward Hansen's own arm bone. It all went into his bones. The black light of the bones grew stronger. It was floating inside Hansen's hand. When all the light substance melted into his bones, the bone light looked dim. After the light was gone, Hansen saw the arm bone become a black bone hammer. The bone hammer was far too cruel. The hammer was just a bit bigger than a fist. It was like a rubber hammer in a house. Why is this hammer so different when compared to the hammer Kill Sky God wielded? Kill Sky God's hammer was so much more powerful. What is this tiny thing for? Hansen complained, but then an announcement played. Annihilation Class God Personality Armament received, Kill Sky Hammer. Hansen looked at the Kill Sky Hammer. The name was very powerful and overbearing, but it looked very small. It looked like a black bone hammer. The head was a cylinder. Both sides of the hammer head had a God symbol. It looked old and mysterious, but Hansen did not know what the two God symbols meant. When he and Kill Sky God fought, the big hammer had those two God symbols too. They likely represented his power. Just like before, Kill Sky Hammer had a message in Hansen's head. Kill Sky Hammer Annihilation Class God Personality Armament. Seeing Kill Sky God get resurrected, Hansen did not dare remain. He put the Kill Sky Hammer into his Sea of Soul, and swiftly departed Kill Sky God Temple. All the races of the universe were looking at the Kill Sky God Temple. They saw him emerge from the God Temple right when the God flag flashed. Then it went dim. Clearly, a God spirit had died inside the God Temple. Really? Dollar killed an Annihilation Class God spirit, and the temple was closed down. This seems fake to me. Does he play like that? All the creatures opened their eyes wide. They were not able to believe it. Hansen had just exited the zone of the God temples when he saw Bai King floating in the air. He was laughing at him. Chapter 2992 Holy Body Geno Fluid. We must find a place to talk, Bai King said to Hansen with a merry laugh. Okay. Hansen wanted to know why Bai King saved him earlier, as well as why Bai King was happy letting him claim all the benefits he wanted. Bai King did not say anything. He merely led the way. Hansen believed Bai King would lead him back to the Extreme King, but he did not. Bai King stopped on an asteroid. He then just sat on the crystallized asteroid. He smiled and waved at Han Senior. Sit. Hansen sat down and asked, "Why have you come looking for me?" Bai King pointed at the God Palace in space and said, "You must have now seen the power possessed by an Annihilation Class God Spirit. If you are going solo, it will be impossible to win in your fights at the God Temple. If we combine our forces, perhaps we stand a chance. What do you think?" Hansen checked Bai King out. He did not answer his question. He quietly asked, "Why me? Give me a reason." Bai King seemed to know that Han Sen wanted to ask that. He smiled and said, "It is very simple. It is because of it." Bai King stroked a ring on his finger. It was a metal ring with a black gem on it. There was no special power possessed by it. When one looked at it, one would believe it was an ordinary decorative ring. Han Sen had a closer look and thought, "This black gem looks like the black crystal horizontal evil gave me." Seeing Han Sen's reaction, Bai King smiled. He stroked the black crystal on the ring and said, "This ring is a treasure given to us by our Alpha. He brought it back from Sacred. The Alpha used to say that if a creature can make this ring create a reaction, the Extreme King must help that creature in any way they can. Only that creature can make the Extreme King free and powerful." "Has it reacted to me?" Han Sen asked with a frown. Han Sen did not believe Bai King was a person that listened to his Alpha. To become a king, all of them had incredible confidence and faith in themselves. They would not have listened to the ramblings of an old Alpha and listened to an outsider like Han Sen, who was their enemy. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes, this ring has been passed through many generations of our race, but it has never reacted before. We started to think that whatever Mr. Alpha said about it was not true. Over the billions of years waiting for it, the time has come. We waited billions of years and are now finally here. When you are next to me, the ring reacts. It is so deep in the soul that only the person wearing the ring can feel it. It is so strong and clear. It was at that moment I knew you were the person the Extreme King had been waiting on for billions of years." Han Sen looked at Bai King and did not speak. That story would not have only existed in a storybook. Han Sen had a hard time believing that someone would remain that loyal to anything. It was not like the world did not have anyone loyal, such as 9,000 King, the Demon Lady, and the others. They were loyal to Qin Xiu, and Han Sen believed they were. The Extreme King was different. It was easy for one person to remain loyal. For everyone to remain loyal generation after every generation was not something Han Sen could believe. After 3 generations, one tended to forget their ancestors. If one person developed in a foreign country, no one would really remember their motherland 3 generations later. The Extreme King had been going on for many generations. If they said they still believed in the Alpha, whoever believed it must have had a problem in their brain. Bai King seemed to see through what Han Sen was thinking. He stroked his ring and said, "Of course, Mr. Alpha's speech was not the main reason I treated you so nicely. It was because in that speech, you were the key to the fate of the entire Extreme King. That means I have to treat you so well." "What key?" Han Sen asked. "The extreme bodies of the Extreme King come from sacred leaders' test subjects. It was something called Holy Body Geno Fluid. If the Holy Body Geno Fluid was a success, then all the creatures can activate their potential and gene origin power, so that their genes could evolve. Then every creature could get their super holy body." After speaking, Bai King looked at Han Senator. It seemed as if he wanted to ask something, but he did not ask anything. He continued with what he was talking about. "Ever since Sacred collapsed, the Holy Body Geno Fluid has not succeeded. Our Alpha used the half-finished Holy Body Geno Fluid and received the special body. He used that special body to survive amidst the chaos and keep the Extreme King alive." "Is that special body a king body?" Han Sen asked. Bai King nodded and said, "Yes, it is a king body. That special body plays a big part in genes, but it is different from normal genes. In the beginning, the Extreme King people were able to activate their king bodies. Some geniuses were able to activate their king bodies by the time they were 15 or 16 years old. Everyone activated a different kind of body. As time passed, the bloodline kept becoming lighter and lighter. Now the Extreme King people can only activate their king bodies by the time they reach king class. Most of the Extreme King cannot activate their king bodies anymore." Han Sen looked at the ring and asked, "What does any of that have to do with this ring?" Bai King put the ring down and placed it in front of Han Sr. "According to what the Alpha told us, that ring is a tool for testing king bodies. It will only work for a successful holy body." Han Sen took the ring and placed it in his hand. That very normal ring suddenly made his soul shake. It seemed as if it was able to make the black gem inside Han Sen moan and groan. Han Sen kept stroking the gem in the ring and thought, It is very amazing, but I feel the black gem in the ring is different from the black crystal. Mr. Alpha believed Sacred Leader had a backup plan, even for a time after this death. We believed someone would take up the mantle to proceed with his research on the holy body geno fluid. We just needed to hold on to that ring and wait until the real holy body geno fluid came out. At that time, our king bodies would be perfected. It would be a perfect holy body. It would not be like a king body that becomes a little harder to reach as time goes by. Bai King looked at Han's son, as if his eyes were on fire. If you want to get the holy body geno fluid from me, you are wrong. I have never used holy body geno fluid, and I don't know to make that stuff. After saying that, Han's son threw the ring back at Bai King. Bai King picked up the ring, smiled, and said, "We can talk about this another time. Today, I looked for you so we can cooperate for the killing of an annihilation-class god spirit. Are you interested?" Hansen knew Bai King must have something more to say. He stayed quiet a moment before asking, "Which annihilation-class god spirit do you want to kill?" "Moment God." Bai King slowly said those two words. Chapter 2993. United Rain slid down the roof. It landed on a stone board and created some bubbles. Looking outside, there was an old house at the peak of a mountain. There were also lots of other mountains. The rain created a layer of mist that draped the mountains. Crunch! The rain was very heavy. The door of the old house opened. Because the house was so old, the door made sharp noises. Even the sound of the heavy rain was not able to keep it down. The big door of the old house was pushed open. The first thing that appeared was an elegant pair of red high heels. Next, there was a white smooth jade leg and a red qipao. A woman was wearing a red qipao. She was holding a red umbrella. She walked into the house with her body wagging seductively. Her hair was like a cloud. "Fortune teller, how long are you going to hide?" The red-clothed woman with the red umbrella walked into the center of the old yard. She looked at what was in the house and spoke her words like a ghost. Her voice was soft, but the rain still could not hide it. The room had a door with flower carvings on it. It was pushed open. An old man stepped out with a flag. His other hand clutched a wine gourd. He was sitting on a broken square table. After taking a sip of alcohol, he looked at the red-clothed woman, who was outside, and said, "If I were able to hide for 1 hour, I would hide for 1 hour. If I could hide for 1 more second, I would hide for 1 more second. I would rather survive for as long as possible than be dead. If I can live a bit longer, I will live a bit longer." The rain was too much. The umbrella was very low, so one was not able to see what the red-clothed woman looked like. Yet her ridiculously curvy body and long black hair, which looked like a waterfall, were very eye-catching. One may not have been able to see her face, but one could recognize her. "I am afraid you would prefer death compared to living," the woman chillingly said as she stood in the rain. The old man laughed and said, "That means you are here to collect my life." "It depends on whether you are accurate or not," the red-clothed woman said. "That will determine if I take your life." The old man picked up his gourd and had another sip of alcohol. He squinted his eyes as he asked, "So was I accurate or not?" "You were accurate but also not accurate," the red-clothed woman replied. "I really don't understand what you are saying." The old man laughed as he asked, "Which is accurate, and which is not accurate?" The red-clothed woman was silent a moment before saying, "The prediction you did for my master was very accurate. The god palaces appeared again, but the other half is not accurate. The god palaces did not break through. They still suppress a full sky." The fortune-telling old man laughed. "Master is in too much of a rush. It is not time yet." "There is only a month left," the red-clothed woman said. "Even an annihilation god temple has yet to be broken. I do not see how the Geno Hall will be broken in a month. When the time comes, you will understand." The fortune-telling old man looked dull. He looked at the red-clothed woman and said, "But I suggested it first. Your master needs to do as the old man says. If there is no mistake, the prediction will come true." "I am here for that," the red-clothed woman said. "My master does not understand why he must do that. What does it have to do with breaking the god palaces? That person has the ability, But he has never reached that level. With his power, he cannot break the God Palace. Predicting someone's fate is not easy. The old man traded his whole life to get this result. About the progress, I, the old man, cannot predict it all. If you do not believe the old man, you do not have to do it. The fortune-telling old man spoke, as if he did not care. I hope you are right. Otherwise, you should know that if you make the master mad, even that guy in the Geno Hall will not save you. From now on, you stay here. Until that day comes, you can predict your life. You can't blame others. The red-clothed woman turned around and left after speaking. In the rain, she walked until the rain covered all vision of her body. The old man squinted his eyes and looked at the sky full of rain. He said to himself, if I did not want to, do you guys think you can really find me and trap me here? You really underestimate me, Han Jinji. While he was speaking, the old man was holding the wine gourd and the cloth, which had the word destiny written down. He walked out of the living room and headed for the yard behind the old house. The raindrops dripped off the old man, wetting his clothes and hair. Only the cloth that told one's fortune did not touch any water. It was like it was immune to the rain. The old man walked to the farthest part of the yard, which was the highest point of the mountain. He waved his hand and walked a few circles in the yard. After a while, he calculated something. He paused for a bit before placing the cloth into the gap of the stone board. He walked back a few steps and looked at the cloth. He fixed the angle and position. With a look of satisfaction, he said, the end is not the end of fate. I, Han Jinji, cannot change fate, but I will not let that moment be the end. After that, the old man walked back into the living room. He laid on the broken bed and yawned. He quickly fell asleep. Han Sun and Bai King spoke for a while. Han Sun then left the asteroid field. Bai King wanted to kill Moment God. It did not seem like a mere coincidence. He knew the relationship between Han Sun and Golden Growler, so he must have known Han Sun was planning to save Golden Growler. Bai King had also mentioned he had a way to break the time god powers that had claimed Golden Growler, which would allow Golden Growler to be set free. He could then use Golden Growler's power to fight Moment God. After everything came together, Bai King planned to kill Moment God. Bai King did have a request. After Moment God was killed, he wanted to be the one to take the God personality armament. Han Sun did not have a problem with that. He lacked the confidence for killing Moment God by himself. If it worked, he was fine with giving Bai King the God personality armament. In Bai King's plan, he needed to have Dollar do it. He also needed to cooperate with Han Senator, that very much troubled Han Sr. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby. He did not know Dollar was Han Sun too. He saw Han Sun go to save Golden Growler, and he agreed with Han Sun's power too. He asked Dollar to contact Han Sun, so that he could chip in and help them out. Han Sun thought Bai King knew his secret, which is why he asked him. After Bai King's explanation, he knew he had no clue. Bai King only knew Dollar was the holy baby, and that the holy baby came from Space Garden. Thus, he guessed that Dollar was a good friend of Han Sun, and wanted him to contact Han Senator. Bai King never imagined a crystallizer, and a Xenogeniac would have been the same person. Where am I going to find a Han Sun for him? Han Sun had a wry smile. Although Space Garden had many elites, none of them had developed fully. He could not find anyone who was able to disguise himself as Han Sun or Dollar. Chapter 2994 Finishing Wish. Back in Space Garden, Han Sun had been troubled by the situation. Although he was able to use Han Sen's identity to reject the proposal, Han Sun had tried his hardest to save Golden Growler. This was a good opportunity. If he rejected the offer, Bai King might grow suspicious. Although Dollar and Han Sen's looked different, ordinary people would not suspect them as being the same. Unfortunately, people like Bai King knew Dollar was the holy baby. If Dollar and Han Sun were not able to show up at the same time, he could start thinking things weren't the way he presumed them to be. Han Sun thought, this is far too troublesome for me, but I have no choice. I have to decline the offer. He was not able to think of an adequate solution. If he waited any longer for other humans and spirits to develop, by the time he was true God, he could find someone else to disguise themselves as him. Right now that was too difficult. Bzzzt. Bzzzt. While Han Sen was thinking, he heard a buzzing noise. It was like something was rapidly flapping its wings next to his ears. He looked closer. He did not know when it had appeared, but there was a small bee next to him. Han Sen thought it was weird. How was a Xenogeniac be able to fly there? Where he lived had the protection of a Bysema. A Xenogeniac of that level could not bypass the Bysema. Pang! The little bee turned into smoke, and a beautiful little girl fell out. She fell right into Han Sen's arms. Han Sen discovered it was Bauer who had fallen out. Bauer! She was wearing a big pair of sunglasses. Bauer was clinging to Han Sen's neck. She laughed and asked, "Dad, where have you been lately? Why don't you play with Bauer anymore?" "I have recently." Han Sen thought of something. He slapped his legs and switched the topic of conversation. "How could I forget about the sunglasses?" In the next moment, Han Sen developed rapid excitement. He quickly picked up Bauer and asked, "Bauer, can you use these glasses to look like Dad?" Bauer tilted her head with confusion as she asked, "I can, but why would I want to look like you?" "Don't ask me that," Han Sen said. "Just quickly tell me how long you can become me for." One Bauer thought for a moment and said, "Your body of energy is strong. If I want to become you, it will cost me a lot of power. It will last around 1 hour." 1 hour? That is almost enough. Han Sen was quiet a moment and then said, "Try becoming Dad now." Bauer was very nice. She used her sunglasses to scan Han Senator not long after. She successfully turned into Han Senior. "Can you use this?" Han Sen reached out his hand. His hand had the flame of the Xian Yellow Sutra. Like this. Bauer reached out her hand. Her hand was just like his. She had the Xian Yellow Sutra's flame. Han Sen was very happy. He used a few Geno arts. He soon found out the Geno arts Bauer could use were his Xenogeniac Geno arts. They included Blood Pulse Sutra, Xian Yellow Sutra, and Jade Skin. She was able to use those Geno arts. The Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes were something she was unable to cast. Han Sen's heart jumped. He transformed into Xenogeniac Battle Body mode and told Bauer, "What about this? Can you look like me right now?" Bauer used her sunglasses and scanned him again. She successfully turned into the Han Sen Xenogeniac mode. Like before, while she was in Xenogeniac mode, she was only able to use Jade Skin and Blood Pulse Sutra. She was still unable to use the Dongxian Sutra and the Story of Genes. Regarding the Super God Spirit mode, no matter what mode she was in, Bauer could not make use of it. Han Sen thought, "It's just enough. Bauer can use Xenogeniac mode to disguise herself as Dollar, and I can come out representing myself Han Senior." He gave Bauer the Evil Lotus Ring, Skybone Armor, and Kill Sky Hammer to see if she could effectively use them. Bauer used the Evil Lotus Ring and Skybone Armor. The Evil Lotus Ring shone with a purple light. It turned into a purple shadow that covered her body. This was the Evil Lotus Bysema. It had good resistance to every power. It was good stuff for the purpose of surviving. The Skybone Armor had a knife light. It was like many knife lights protecting Bauer. The Skybone Armor was a very rare armament that could attack and defend. The knife light protected the body to provide powerful defense. And the knife light was also like a saw that could strike things. It was very powerful. The Kill Sky Hammer was able to break space in a single hit. The power it possessed was ridiculous. Any Bysema would break under the Kill Sky Hammer. When Bauer enters Xenogeniac mode, she is very powerful. With these 3 God personality armaments and me next to her, she should be fine. She will just leave if anything bad happens. Han Sen thought this was doable. He explained things to her once and asked if she wanted to take part. Bauer can become Dollar Dad. That will be so fun. Bauer will love it. Bauer looked very excited. Moment God's power is unpredictable. Han Sen told Bauer, "You need to be careful. Listen to my commands. You will enter the God Temple later, and you will be the first one to leave. You cannot risk fighting Moment God. Just pretend and swing the hammer a few times. Your father has got this." Little Angel had been drinking Geno fluid by the gallon, and she was almost maxed out. She still probably would not catch up and be at what was required for the fight in that God Temple just yet. The next day, Han's son had to meet up with Fox Queen. He became dollar and wore the sky god crown. He returned to his god of wealth temple. The god of wealth temple had just opened. Fox Queen secretly came before the god temple. While still outside, she said, "I am Fox Queen. Please, let me see you, Mr. God of Wealth. Come in." Han's son stood atop his altar. He looked very serious when he spoke. "Greetings, mister." After Fox Queen entered the temple, she bowed. "What I promised you is possible," Han's son coldly said. "Were you doubting my power? I would never dream of doing that. It's just the 9-spin destiny mirror is too important to the fox race. That is why I feel very nervous. Please forgive me." Fox Queen was very scared as she kowtowed. At the same time, she was very excited. "Humph. Take it." Hansen's heart jumped. The 9-spin destiny mirror appeared in the air. It flew toward Fox Queen. When Fox Queen had the 9-spin destiny mirror in her hands, the sky god crown displayed a message in Hansen's head. Wish fulfilled. Received 300 lifespan. An additional requirement master and slave contract is available. Many lifespan years flew out of Fox Queen and went toward Han. Senator Han's son witnessed his lifespan increase. He had a lifespan of another 300 years. His total lifespan was almost 3,000 years now. Hansen also saw that Fox Queen's forehead had a mark that said, God of Wealth's Wealth. It had some special connection to the Sky God crown. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.